Welcome to the Hawks Nest live stream show. My name is Brandon Kane. It is a lovely Sunday afternoon out here on the west side of Washington. Hopefully you guys are doing good on the west side, or the one on the east side here. You're doing good on the west side. Let me get my directional compass right here. Beautiful day here. The sun's out. Spring has finally arrived. But you also know what time that means, right, folks? Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's draft time. That's right, draft time. And within draft time, we have gone through all of the travails of studying these prospects, looking at depth at the top end, at the middle end. We're now to the back end, and some of these guys we're discussing who come from Saginaw Valley State and the likes. We're that deep into the list of things, but it's fun nonetheless because there is the hope born within the NFL draft season. The hope that if my team can just do something special here, which has no relation to anything on the football field, that maybe we can turn this around so much faster than everybody else thinks. All the experts think. All the experts are telling you how long it'll be. All the naysayers saying now that Russell's gone, we're going back into the dark ages. But one magical draft, one special draft can flip an organization on its ear in an awesome way. And the Seattle Seahawks sit in a position this year with this draft, high first-round pick, as high as they've selected in darn near 10 years. 2 second-round picks that are also at the top end of the second round, not at the back end of the second round, but at the top of the second round. And then, of course, they've got their pretty much full allotment of the rest of their selections, on top with sitting on next year 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks, which also, let's face it, could factor into ammunition if they want to supply some of that to move up into this year's draft. What I wanted to do today on this show, as we are in a hopeful state of mind here with this draft upcoming, an exciting state of mind, and of course, if you're looking for a place to hang out, please come on in here. I'm going to be live streaming all 3 days of the draft, end to end, beginning to end, no stopping. I think me and Brendan are going to be doing some post-game stuff too, or post-draft stuff as well on each of those days, going back and forth in each other's channels. So keep an eye out for all of that. But today we're going to run some war games. Okay, I'm putting on my general's outfit here. We're gonna get all the soldier pieces onto the board here across the map, and we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna work this thing out. And what I want to do is run through 5 given scenarios with you guys. You're gonna run here with me on this. We're all gonna do this a little bit together here. So we're gonna go through 5 given scenarios of this draft, running it through this PFF mock draft simulator. You with me on this, and we're gonna kind of see what are really the potentials here that Seattle could be walking away from. And also within that, what is maybe the best of these approaches? Because there is a variety of different ways they can go. I've narrowed it down to a base 5. There's obviously more than this, but the 5 that I'm narrowing in are going to be, of course, straightforward. Just make the selection. Pick your picks, take your players, get better. Good. Awesome. You'll get some good players. Boring. Okay, let's go number 2. You trade back. We're going to have scenario 1 where we trade back into the teens, get another selection, see what we can then base through the rest of the draft on that. That's kind of some tantalizing, exciting approach there. This one would be almost, to me, a best case scenario, number 3, and that is that you trade back similarly into the teens with either the Eagles or the Saints. There is rumors right now, as I hold back a sneeze, there is rumors right now that the Eagles are trying to, excuse me, the Eagles are trying to move up in this draft. Rumors were at 10. Maybe they can even be trying to get up to 9 at this point, which would be nice if you can maybe be a long shot. You might have to flip a little bit back, which we're going to get to in a second. But if we can get 2 of those first-round picks in the middle of the first round, that would be scenario 3. Scenario 4 is we trade back into the first round. We trade back up into the first round. So this would be a scenario where we pick with number 9 overall. Then, as you guys I'm sure are already hearing, there are rumors out there that the Seahawks are maybe potentially interested in trading back up into the top of the first round to get a quarterback. The 2 guys that stand out as the guys that they have been linked to would be at that point Desmond Ridder and or Matt Corral. So that would be scenario 4 for us. And then scenario 5 is the John Schneider special. That's what I call this one. This is the JS special. And this would be a hard trade back. And I am talking a multiple trade back scenario. So hold on, let me blow my nose here after I sneezed here. 1 second, folks. Bear with 1 second. Oh, spring's arrived when the allergies have cometh to kick my ass. So those will be the 5 scenarios we're going to run. Bear with me over here in the chat here because this is going to take us just a little bit, but we'll be doing this together as well. So on the comments, hold off if you can to a degree on questions. I'll be with you on that in just a second. But we're going to go over here to my my draft cam here. So let's go over to the draft cam. Bam. Oh wait, that's not we don't want that. We don't want that. That's mine. This is going to be our PFF simulator here. So this is our deal as it sits. We're going to run through our scenarios, as I said. Sorry, make sure I get this right. Make sure it's all cleaned up. So first scenario, of course, off the board, we're going to run super easy. We're going to just do the, let me refresh this so we can do this from the start because we're going to pick as the Seahawks, of course. Seahawks, and we're going to go 3 rounds on this because, of course, trading back is going to be a bit in on that. We want to make this right here. Okay, so let's start this up. And we've got, we're sitting at number 9, and they've got Kayvon Thibodeau. So this is highly unrealistic, of course, folks, but we're going to pick with what we've got available. I'm not going to go too crazy on these scenarios. We're going to just see what was the best scenario we came away with on this. So, obviously, I guess I don't have to ask you guys on this one. Thibodeau would be the pick. Seahawks, I think, would take that all day long if he were to happen to fall there like that. And again, this is our first scenario where we're not trading back. We're just picking where we stand. So, okay, we've got Jalen Petrie of Baylor, useful. Sam Howell, I don't know how high they really are on Sam Howell. We have heard them not linked to them at all. Ritter, they've been linked to. Bonita would be an interesting edge rusher here, but then they already took Thibodeau, so that obviously pushes that on the board. We got to address offensive line at some point. Now we're picking back-to-back, but let's just say Lucas is kind of the straightforward pick here, at least the first one. The second one's going to be a little tougher back-to-back on this. So now we've got some interesting options. We've got the edge guy, who's good. You've got Ritter, who they've been linked to. Josh Pascal's obviously I think edge is off the board at this point. Quay Walker, a little bit of an overrated linebacker. Ajabu, who's injured, of course, going to be out for the next year. Corral's there, who they would like, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. We probably don't need edge rusher at this point. So let's go and I don't think they take Chanel here either. I mean, they could on this with the linebacker as well. It would totally make sense. But they've been linked to Ritter. They can't believe their luck. They take Ritter here in the second round. We pop through into the third. And we've got this available on the board now. Obviously, we need some offensive line help. So we've taken our quarterback, got a little offensive line, taken an edge rusher. Now, Zach Tom, to me, is a guy that is your guy that you could move anywhere on that offensive line, I almost feel like, and he's going to be a league starter at least at the next level. I would have liked Brian Asamoah if we were back in the 4-3 scheme. Don't need an edge again because we took that. So this is going to be a tough pick at this point, right? And you've got Cole Strange down here where, to me, Tom's the better player, but they've been more linked to Cole Strange. So that would be the interesting part here. And as well, does Cole Strange, is he going to be then available in the 4th round if you do pass on that in this position? So this would not be great for us to have these players available at this spot. There's not necessarily a pure dropper that's here on the board. D'Angelo Malone's nice, but this feels a little too high for him. Sam Williams, but then you already did get an edge rusher, or we could go Cam Jurgens. So let's see what the let me see what the chat's got here. Chad says Slayer. Yeah, but we already went. Slayer is going to have to play left tackle at that point, or left guard if we go that way. I'm getting a lot of Brian Asamoah. Okay. Maybe we just go linebacker and call it a day on that. I like Brian's tape. So maybe he can fit as a middle linebacker in a 3-4. Don't want to get too caught up on this with these picks at this moment. We're getting just general players that we can get. So, all right, let's go with the first one here. And what's our grade? Ooh, we got an A, guys. We killed it. I think that Thibodeau pick helped, though, right? And we got damn lucky on that one. So that's not going to happen again, obviously. So let's rerun it to scenario 2. This is a little more of the exciting one, right? This is the one that we get a little bit. I'm going to run this with you guys in the chat on this a little bit. So we'll kind of do this together here. We're to number 9. Let's see what we've got here. Let's start the draft first. Let's see what picks we got available. All right, we got 3 trade possibilities. Jaguars to 33. I don't like that. Oh my goodness, I don't like any of those. All right, let's see if we can tempt. Let's see if we can tempt the Steelers to come up from 20. We'll give up 9, and then we want their 52. Let's see if we can pull it off. Trade accepted. Probably would have to throw a little more in on that maybe, but let's not get caught up in it. All right. Ooh, look, Linderbaum's fell. This is easy, folks. This one's going to be fun. Linderbaum, bam. I don't have to think about it. I'm going to no-brainer that one, folks. I don't know if the team would at that point, but Linderbaum at 20 to me is a no-brainer. All right, now we're in the second round. We've begun to address the offensive line, which we feel good about. We've got some good edge rushers here again with Bonito and Drake Jackson. Josh Pascal. Abraham Lucas is there if we want. Let me see what the chat thinks here. Let's see, Linder, go. Tyler, yeah, you got to go Tyler there. You got to go Tyler there. This one's a tough one. I'm liking Bonito more than the more we go along with his tape as an edge rusher. I really do. And his win rate, his pass rush win rate in college is ridiculous. Drake Jackson has got that ghost move, right? Where he looks like he's going high and then suddenly goes low and the tackle's still pushing it air high. And then you got Abraham Lucas there. You could go Linderbaum, Lucas as your first 2 picks. You talk about rebuilding an offensive line at that point. We got some Lucas love. We got some Ajabo love. Everybody, see, this is the tough one, is everybody's in a different place on this one as to which one to go with. I mean, Petrie's good. Petrie's good too. I love Petrie. All right, we got 2 for Lucas on this. Man, I'm tantalized. You guys know I want to address the offensive line so bad. It's hard not to just take Lucas. What's up, Jose? Good to see you, man. Let's see. Ajabo's the pick in there. Wants to be a pick in there too. Okay, let's do this. I'm seeing a little Ajabo. All right, let's do this. We'll go Lucas in this one, and then we're going future out on this one, right? We'll go long on this one. So we'll go Ajabo with our second one. This takes us into the 3rd round. And let's go in the 3rd round. To me, the value looks like, to me, you go Leo Chanel would make some sense here. I mean, I'm a Troy Anderson guy, though, myself. Yeah, I'm a Troy Anderson guy. Go Hawks is a Drake. Troy Anderson's Joe. I think Troy Anderson's kind of the pick on that one, folks. I think we got to go Troy. All right. Like I said, we're not going to overthink this too much. I don't want to prolong this too much, absurdly, of course. All right. So we've gotten the linebacker taken care of now. We got our pass rusher of the future there. We got Linderbaum in place. Okay. Now it gets interesting, doesn't it? Because we've already addressed the linebacker with the previous pick there now. We do have Tariq Woolen down here, folks. I know a lot of people like Tariq Woolen. Sam Williams is boy, you already took a pass rusher, but Tariq Woolen would be an interesting cat. 6'3", 4, what do you run, 4'2"? 4'2". Zach Tom is Zach Tom. Zach Tom is on the board, but then you've already taken Lucas and Linderbaum. Zach Tom's not going to be able to play left tackle at the next level and that's the only thing with Tom. I like Zach, but Carson Strong. We got some Carson Strong love in here. Okay, guys. I like that. I like where your head's at on that. Get Logan Hall. Logan Hall's off the board at this point. You could go a couple different. There's a lot of ways you could go here. Alex Pierce is interesting. Sorry, cats are. messing. You got D'Angelo Malone in there. Tariq Woolen. Let me see what the chat thinks here. Go defense. Well, we did with Sam with the Jabba. We're gonna have to wait a year. So yeah, we maybe want to go. All right, I'm gonna do this. We'll go with. I like Sam Williams, and we're gonna have to wait a year on a Jabba. That's the thing to remember with him. You can't have too many pass rushers. And we've addressed the offensive line good, and I like Tariq Woolen, but I think he's a little bit of a project. Am I right with that, chat? Let me see if chat likes that. Woolen. Chat's more Woolen. Take a chance on Strong. Woolen is a steal. Okay, I'll go Woolen. The chat has spoken. We'll go Woolen on this one. All right, so I like this one, right, folks? I mean, we've done 2 scenarios now. Scenario number 2, I think we like a little bit better than scenario number 1, right? Just a little bit. You felt like you come out with a couple extra players here. So Linderbaum, Lucas, Ajabo, Troy Anderson, Tariq Woolen. You've addressed the defense. You've got a guy who would be a top 10 pick in this draft for the future, hopefully can come back around. Linderbaum, day 1 starter. Lucas, day 1 starter. Woolen will push those guys pretty quickly, and I think Anderson's a day 1 starter. So even though you got the Ajabo as the project, you've come away with it at that point with 3 day 1 starters right out the gate, along with investment into the future in the Woolen and the Ajabo pick, along with the shoot for the moon kind of deal there. Let me get back to my simulator. Come on, simulator. All right, so let's go scenario number 3. Scenario number 3 is going to be, we're going to trade back to one of 2. We're going to try to target in on the 2 picks of the Eagles, or we're going to target in on the 2 picks of the Saints. Hopefully the simulator's updated because it's not showing them as having those picks right now. I think they probably will in a second, but we'll see. So we're going to try to finagle. We're finagling here, folks. Get ready to finagle. All right. Not the luck we had before. Ooh, it's a little different on this one, huh? A little different on this one. We've got Mr. Walker. We've got the big quintessential question of the draft facing this particular mock. But we can't do it. They're going to trade up for this reason. So let's see what we got trade-wise. All right, Eagles. Eagles have 15 and 18. We're going to give you 9. We're going to give you 9. And we're going to give you 4th round pick. Okay, we're going to try this. They're not too happy with that. They don't like that. All right, so we're going to go future 3rd, 4th round pick and a 1st for 15 and 18. They still don't like that. You hard. Oh my God, they're driving a hard bargain. Okay, we can play this game. We'll give you. Yeah. Man, the Eagles aren't giving it up very nice here on this one, are they? I don't like this. Okay. All right, well, the thing is I want to get up there. So one way or another, we need to do this. So 4th round pick. We'll give up a future. Future 3rd and a 5th? How about that? All right, so they took it. We had to do a future 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, and our 9th to get their 2 1s. Okay, everyone wins, I guess, on that. Okay, we're up at 15. We got 3 picks over the next 2. We got 3 picks over the next 2 picks, folks. Put on your thinking cap. We need some help here on the chat. Let's get this going now. Who we got? Who we got? So we've got Drake London. Nah, it's probably not him. We got Devin London. We could do Devin. Tyler Linderbaum. The Saints are probably not going to go with Linderbaum. Okay, so here's the thing. We don't have to draft Linderbaum here if we have an intention to, if we pick this way, because neither the Saints nor the Chargers are going to go for center there. So that's not a threat. Likewise, if we like Devin Lloyd, there's not a really good chance I think either of those 2 teams pull the trigger on Devin Lloyd. And those are the 2 top guys on our board at the moment. Lloyd and Linderbaum. Okay. Kirk Stemmer says, I'd prefer to see Jalen Armour Davis over Woolen. All right, fair enough. I'd be okay with that too. King Bomber says, should have taken Walker. Well, we're doing a different scenario here. So this is a scenario based. I had to trade out because I would, it'd be hard not to pull the trigger. But again, that's why you might get a team willing to trade up too. So if a guy like that slid, then you'd get team A willing to go up and get it. Sauce or Linderbaum. We got Linderbaum or Lloyd, or it looks like I got some Linderbaum Lloyd love. Okay, let's go. We'll go Lloyd first. Let's see what the two teams do. I think Linderbaum will still be there. See, he is. We'll take him off the board there. This gets us into now 2 second-round picks. So we've gone little defense, little offense. And now we're sitting with Petrie there, Chanel there, Benito there, Drake Jackson. Again, some of the same familiar names. Ooh, Treylon Burks is there in this one. Interesting. Abraham Lucas is there. Yeah, Matt Corral's there. Matt Corral is there. So Devin Lloyd is a future. Maffei's there? We got Maffei. I think we got to take Maffei. We got to go Maffei, folks. That's just too good. That's too good. All right, Maffei's gone. That's a no-brainer on that one. Next pick in the second round. We got Ritter Love. We got Burks is still on the board. Boy, could you imagine coming out of this with Devin Lloyd, Tyler Linderbaum, Boy Maffei, and Treylon Burks? Whew. Just to start the draft. Just to begin. Just to get warmed up. Burks, got some Burks love here. I'm seeing the Burks. All right, we got to go Burks, right? You got to do it. You got to do it. That's too much value. We're going BPA here, folks. It's best player available on the board. We're not reaching. We're not going for need. We're going for BPA. All right, let's finish this. Let's see how this finishes up now. Oh, my goodness. What a draft. What a nice draft there. All right, so we had to flip the third rounder to make it happen. It was the third and the fourth. I thought I gave him a future third. What happened to our third round pick? Maybe I only selected 2 rounds there. Shoot. That was stupid. Still, that would be an amazing opening to pull that off, and then you're going in the third round getting a linebacker or an outside rusher at that point. You go any which way you want then at that one. Probably actually Cole Strange. Cole Strange would probably be no, because you got Linderbaum. So, sorry about that, folks. It sometimes gets wonky on this. Yeah, I had 3 rounds set up. I don't know why I didn't. I thought I traded the future 2023 third rounder, so we should have still kept ours. I think the simulator glitched. But you could go Zach Tom. We've seen him available a lot there. We mentioned Jamari Slayer. He would have been available there in the third round. You could have gone with a guy who probably also could kick into left guard. There would be some interesting guys, and that would be, to me, an awesome first round. Trading back, getting those 2 first rounders, Devin Lloyd and Linderbaum, that's just a home run to begin your draft at that point. All right, let's go to the last 2 scenarios we've got here, which is first, let's trade back into the first round. So what I mean by this, of course, is we're going to trade with we're going to pick our first pick at number 9, and then we're going to utilize draft capital to move back up into the first round as we are hearing rumors of the Seattle Seahawks potentially targeting a quarterback up at the top of that first round territory. So let's rerun this again. And on this scenario, let's see what we land on here. If I start it, right? That might help. All right. Now, we can trade back in this scenario too, so we don't have to just sit here on this one. But again, no straightforward name on this that makes sense on this given scenario. Kyle Hamilton obviously is probably not happening. Jamison Williams is probably not happening. This would be again another one where maybe you could get a team willing to trade up with you. For instance, we got the Commanders. They want to get up for the couple picks. Maybe they want to go target Hamilton. So let's see if we can get a third rounder off them. Bingo, bango. Got it done. All right, so we're picking number 11 now. Still got about the same guys on the board here. Trade down for sure. Burks and DK. And again, I'm not signing off on these scenarios as what I want to see happen and just on what they might look like if this plays out this way and what they're saying. Let me see. Let's see what we got as far as maybe a little bit further trade. 17 is probably a little further back than we want to go. But we're also needing to accumulate, right? We're also trying to accumulate. So let's see if we can get, all right, we get a second rounder. It's probably a little unrealistic, so let's throw them fourth rounder just to make it feel a little more fair. Okay. All right, so we're all agreed Linderbaum here about first pick. That ain't the part of this what we really want to get in on. What I want to do with this is go, we take Linderbaum, pause, and then we're gonna want to. All right, so then let's say we try to get back in. Let's resume, pause, resume, pause. All right, so let's say we want to trade with them to try to get back up into the first round. So we'll take 29. We'll give you 72, which is a late, I think it's a late third round or whatever. So this is to move up 11 places. So let's offer this trade. All right, so now we're picking up here. In this scenario, I know you guys aren't going to all like this. I know this makes many of you revolt. Again, I understand that. This is not me saying I want to do this. This is me saying, okay, this is if they were to do this, this might be how this looks. So Desmond Ridder then becomes the selection. You move back a little bit. You've moved up a little bit. You haven't really cumulatively lost assets, which is good, at least in this scenario, even if you don't like the front end of the drafting of the quarterback. So we've taken Linderbaum. We've taken our quarterback. We've begun with the offensive line. Let's get some more protection for this kid with the first pick with Lucas. What happened to our second rounders? I must have traded one of them. That was what I traded. Okay. So now I've gotten Lucas. We've gone offensive heavy at this point. We obviously probably are going to need to address the defense at this stage of things. And this would be a tough one because right now, all right, yeah, chat's going to have to help me on this one. That's not a tantalizing list of names then once you land in the third round after that trade. You know, you've gone all in on the quarterback there versus some of the other scenarios. But this is also why I think some of you guys don't like this scenario and you're poo-pooing it, and rightfully so. I would not be in favor of trading back up into the first round in this draft. But you can see these are good names. These are good names at this point. Yeah, Troy Anderson's off the board at this spot. To me, the best guys on the board is this part's picking. Asamoah would be all right at linebacker. D'Angelo Malone would make sense. Sam Williams would make sense. All right, Chad. It's between us, Brian Asamoah and Sam Williams. What say the chat? I like Sean Ryan. I gotta look him up a little bit more. Why Dylan Parham would be a good guard center? Well, you did take Linderbaum. I had him with our first pick, so we probably want to go off of offensive line, especially because I had Lucas in the second round. Probably want to hold off on that. Sam Williams, yeah, let's go Sam. That's my dog. That's my dog. All right, so had to give up a bit there to get up. I had to move that second round pick there to get us back up into the first. So this was a little wild draft. We traded back a couple times, accumulated a little bit of picks, but I had to give up the second and third rounder to get up into the first. We ended up with Linderbaum, Lucas, Ridder. We've established an offensive line. We've got a good young quarterback there behind him. Sam Williams is going to be a good pass rusher, I think, in this league. Boy, PFF does not like Lucas. They're not a fan. This would be, I think, as you guys would agree on this of our scenarios, this would be not as great as I think some of these other things we'd like to do. I think obviously the ideal here is to get those 2 first-round picks in this draft in the middle. But this is a possibility of something you might be looking at come day one. And I wouldn't hate it. At least they're addressing the offensive line in that scenario, even if they are getting a quarterback, which may not be what people are wanting in this particular draft. All right. The last one we're going to do on this is the John Schneider special. The JS special. This is trading back to oblivion, folks. We're going to be trading back. We're going way back on this one. So strap in. We're accumulating. It's the Schneider way. Let's go back to 2017. We had 4 third-round picks and 1 pick at the top of the 4th round. Let's going to do that. We're going to do that again. Let's have some fun. All right. What you guys got? Johnny Boy is open for business. The shop is open for business. The door says open. The lights are on. Let's go. Oh, Trayvon Walker. This would be the one to drive many in the chat crazy. Johnny sitting there with Trayvon Walker looking him dead in the eye. And he says, no. You know it. You know you're going to see it. You know you could see it. And that's just what we're doing in this scenario. I like Trayvon Walker. Don't throw your flames at me here. Don't throw the flamethrower at me. This is merely me as the vessel. I'm serving as a vessel of information for you all here on this one. So let's look at, we got some trade down scenarios here. We got the Commanders coming in 1-11. That'd be interesting. They were nice before on that. We got the Saints coming in with 16. Well, maybe we can get both of the Saints picks. Let's go number 9. Oh, they're not interested in that. Okay, so they're not going to do that. So what we'll do then, this is about assembling. I want more. So we go 16. Still not interested in that, huh? Okay, I'm done talking to the Saints right now, right? I think I've had enough conversations with the Saints at this point. I think I can get them to fork over a, yeah. So they got 113. Dude, that's pretty far, isn't it? It's pretty far for only 2 picks, but yeah, I don't like that either. Not a fan, folks. All right, we're going to have to, oof. All right, Saints, what are you doing here, Saints? What are we doing? What do I got to give you? 49, huh? Okay, well, let's do it. Like I said, we're trading back. Commit to the cause, folks. Commit to it. All right, let's resume draft. All right, but Johnny Boy's not done. He is not done. Who else? Okay, Saints, I like the cut of your jib. How about the Packers? How about you come up and get your wide receiver? Okay? Come get your wide out, and you give us 53, and we'll give you 72. Man, Packers don't even bite on that one. How about 59? Oh, they just don't want to even trade up. That's why you guys will never have good receivers now, because you don't invest in it. Okay, Casey, you know what's up. You know what time it is. No, they don't. All right, we only have 2 teams interested. We got to go 19. So let's do this. I'm telling you, folks, we're going hog wild here. 19, 16. They're going to give me 98 to go back 3. Got to take what's offered. Resume the draft. Let's see here. What we got for trade-wise? Ooh, Patriots want to move. All right, Patriots, let's do this. We'll keep going with this. We're going to take some of this draft capital we've assembled from others, though. So I want your 54. And I'll give you 109, and I'll give you 102. So 3 of the picks that we've assembled to get that extra second rounder at this point. Okay? Well, only going back to 21. Boom. The magician man's in the house, folks. Magic man's in the house. All right. Is he done? Is Johnny Boy done? He's got his fans sweating at this point. He's got his fans cursing the screen. What are you doing? Dear God, man, what are you doing? And he looks at you and he says, more. I want more. All right, here we go. You're going to have to do more than 27, 21. Let's keep on stacking the chips. They're picking deep, so we'll go 60. And we'll give you 72. All right. I'm done. That's it on the trade backs. That's pretty good at that point. Our remaining selections in the first 60 picks, we're sitting on quite a few here. So let's start picking now, folks. We got Rainman, a real rough tackle on the board. Sky Moore, one of the more accomplished receivers in this draft, kind of a Julian Edelman type. Lewis Kind, everybody. So some people's safety 1. Travis Jones, amazing zero tech. George Pickens would be a first-round talent if not for a torn ACL. Jalen Petrie, he can do it all on a football field. Slot, linebacker, safety. Arnold Ebiketie. A lot of interesting names here at the back end of first round now. Where do we go? Well, we got Penning. Penning's on the board, folks. Penning's drifted. He slid. Tough man approach has not worked in this particular first round. All right, I got a couple Pennings. We got a Jones 100%. Jones is one that does make a lot of sense to pull that trigger there. Arnold Ebiketti's also getting some love. Travis and Arnold. Ooh, Penning. Ooh, this is a tough one. Penning's getting a lot of love. Folks, we got to address the offensive line at some point. All right, Penning's the choice. I'm with you guys on this. All right, Penning's the choice. I'm with it. All right, we're into the second round. Damn, Mafe just went off the board before us. Ebiketie went off the board 2 picks before. Brutal. All right, George Pickens. I've got a first-round grade on George Pickens. I'm just saying. I'm not saying we pick him here. I'm just saying, again, Jalen Petrie's here. Leo Chanel, he looks like Hulk on a football field. Kid just athletic and just obliterates ball carriers. Benito, again, good twitchy edge player. Jaquan Brisker, I'm not as high on him as a safety, but some people really like him. Drake Jackson, again here. Some familiar names here you'll see, folks. And this is something to take away from this, is that these familiar names, I think there'll be obviously some change within this, but you could probably count on running 5 different scenarios like we have on this. Some of these same names will probably be available here at this spot, at least theoretically speaking. A couple of good running backs in on this list at this point. Let's see where the chat is. We got 2 picks back-to-back. Give me 2 picks in the chat here back-to-back. Pickens is getting some love. I love me some Pickens, man. If you guys liked Burks, Pickens might be a better receiver than Burks, legitimately. We got some Ritter Pascal love. Okay. Boy, I like Pascal's nice. He is nice. Dead Center says, I don't think I'd be mad at Chanel. Paul says, best Seahawks chat. Really appreciate the follow-up. Oh, hell yeah. Quay Walker's a stud linebacker. All right, Pickens has gotten the most love so far. We're getting some Matt Corral love. Okay. Is Matt on the board right now? Yeah, he is. He is on there. I will give you that. He is there. Troy Anderson's getting some love. Megan's got Ritter, Pickens, Pascal. Either. Okay. Chanel, Corral. Okay. So a little Chanel, a little Corral, Troy Anderson. Boy. Okay, so it's we're gonna lower down to this. We'll go with Corral. Anderson, maybe you're a little on quarterback, fullback. I do like Troy Anderson. He's nice. All right, so let's do again, I don't want to dwell on this too long. We're gonna be picking 2 more times here. So we can address probably interior line later on. We can probably address edge a little bit later on. The linebackers here, though, Troy Anderson sitting there. And, boy, this is kind of a tough one. We want to get this right. Okay, we've gone for offensive line. We feel good about that. We'll take Chanel. God, I really like Anderson, man. I like Anderson more than I like Chanel. Is that wrong? Okay, chat. Anderson or Chanel? First off, Anderson or Chanel? Danny McCormick goes Abraham Lucas. I think we're getting a little Chanel, says Tom. Anderson. It's 50-50. Can't go wrong. I know, you can't go wrong. It's literally funny. It's 50-50. Chanel, Anderson. All right, Anderson it is. Boy, that's a tough one, though. I like them both. Okay, now, we've gone tackle, we've gone linebacker. We need to address still edge rush in this draft at some point. We got Pascal, Drake Jackson there. We've already dealt with linebacker, so we can kind of remove that off the board. Pickens is still there. That's the value, theoretically. Pickens. Ritters. And Drake Jackson. Colts are checking if he's there. Drake Jackson. Jackson's getting some love. Pickens, you have to, don't you? I think you kind of have to take Pickens. We have a couple running backs in there too, but I mean, that's hard not to pull the trigger on that one. We're still picking in another four picks. So, the Chiefs are definitely taking Pickens on the next pick if you don't take him. He's not going to last. Drake Jackson might last because there isn't any of these teams necessarily going for edge rusher ahead of us there. Like the Eagles will go Chanel. So I feel good about going back to Pat. I think Drake Jackson will still be there at 54. All right, let's do it. Pickens it is. Oh, no. This is why I'm not a general manager. Damn you, Vikings trading up. Oh, the hell with you. The Vikings scooped us. The Vikings scooped us. All right, so we haven't done anything for pass rusher yet in this draft. And I could see Ritter making sense here, but you also have done nothing pass rush wise. Now, Bonito's kind of it. There isn't a number 2 pass rusher here that's even. Engabari's okay. He's got a wide opinion on where people stand on him. Lucas is still sitting here at 49. That's tremendous value. You could get your bookend tackles for the future here. Pascal is a guy that's going to be, he'd be a really good player in a 3-4 as an end. I think he would really suit that if you're talking about filling out something you need on your roster. That's a tough one, Chad. And again, we're still picking one more time here. Remember, we loaded up in this third round, so we've got some selections. Benito, Pascal. We need an edge. We need another 3-4 stand-up outside linebacker. I like Pascal better than Benito, but this is almost a little more of a need pick because you need the outside edge rusher first and foremost in a 3-4 above, I think, the space-eating 3-4 guy. Let me double-check the chat. It looks like Benito's winning out. I like Pascal. Pascal's coming in. Pascal's coming in from the chat. It's going to be a defensive end, not an edge. Yeah, no, Pascal would be your 3-4 end. 3-4 end in this new defense. Benito, Pascal. Yami says, I think it's a tradition to pick the quarterback in the third. That's why we should have gotten Arnold. Yeah, Ebiketti would have been nice. Ritter here, Kingsley next pick. Yeah, maybe we got an edge later. So we'll go. I'm getting some quarterback love. We'll see if one of these edge guys lasts the next couple picks. Though we just got bit on the ass on this by Drake Jackson. All right, Josh Pascal's there. Let's not think about it. Let's not overthink this one. We'll go Pascal. We got one more selection up. All right, last pick on the board. Last selection on the board. Oh my God. Abraham Lucas is still there we're at the end of the second round. Shoot, we still got, I think I traded out of the third round to get us all these picks. All right, guys, so this will be the last pick. We'll have none in the third round at this point. The last of the second round. Lucas. All right, Lucas easy. All right. That's the most uniform you were on every one of these picks, chat. I love it. All righty. So this will be the interesting one. We traded back multitude of times. We didn't pick until we did 1, 2, 3, 4 trades to get back and to make our first selection in round 1 at 27. And in those 4 trades, we had only 2 second-round picks. We ended up with 5 second-round picks, basically, with all of that trading back. So this was the crazy move-back scenario. You came away with Trevor Penning, Troy Anderson out of Montana. I don't know why I said that like Scarface. Montana State. I'm Tony Montana. George Pickens of Georgia, wide receiver. Desmond Ritter, quarterback. Josh Pascal, Abraham Lucas. I mean, my God, you've got your edges set now. You've got an interior guy for the defensive line. Troy Anderson, one of the more, to me, talented linebackers in this draft. He's just figuring out how to play the position, and he's good. This would be an outstanding draft. You're talking about building a team for the future. Then you need a lot of building blocks, not just a couple of guys. This is a lot of building blocks in place here, and star power with it. George Pickens has got some star power to him if he can come back from his leg in the way. And by the way, he likes to block. He likes to block the run game. Kind of a small thing with him. Josh Pascal's a bully, a monster on the football field. Is he as much a pass rusher? No. But is he going to destroy the running game? Is he going to kill the 49ers outside zone run game? Is he going to absolutely obliterate the Rams outside zone run game? Yeah, he will. He'll do that. Lucas is as safe as you're going to get at the tackle position on one side. So even if Penning washes out as a left tackle and it has to be kicked into left guard long term as a really good left guard in this league, you still address two of your offensive line positions going forward into the future. And then your cherry on top, Desmond Ridder. Just as here's your little throw in thing. So some fun little mock drafts on this. Wanted to run a couple of these scenarios with you guys, a couple of these mock draft games. I'd like to interesting to see what you guys lean towards as what your favorite one was of the crew. I think that the gaining of the 2 first-round picks gives you the showiest of drafts, but as far as the maybe the most, and it would be the one that would drive the fan base absolutely insane, but the moving back approach in this draft may garner you the most, I don't know if top-end quality is the word you're looking for here, but just garner you the most in totality. Maybe that's the right word I'm looking for. It'd be an interesting draft. Dead Center's favorite ones were Burks fell. That was a nice one where Burks fell. But let's switch back over to the Norm Cam here. But thanks for helping me out through that, guys. It's fun doing that with you guys. We can run it again if you guys want a different scenario, and we'll see what the chat thinks about which way you guys like to go. What your preference sort of is on that. But I think there's a lot of opening here to trading back, and why it makes a lot of sense why that could be the manner and direction that they choose to go here. Because, again, I keep coming back to in my mind as I study this draft. And you just saw it there with the trading in the back in the second-round picks and accumulating all those second-round picks. Even if you had been, instead of getting those 2 at the end of the second round, they had been a couple in the third round. There's still going to be a lot of really good guys there. I mean, Lucas in this scenario was all the way back at the end of the second round. There's some really good, tantalizing names of guys that would not normally be what you'd normally come to find at the top end of the third round. It'd normally be a lot more of, boy, this is really we're in flyer stage of things here. And I think this year it's a little bit significant in that it isn't. And to accumulate a little bit more in this given year makes a little more sense because of that. You look at the year that we accumulated that will be the shining example for a lot of people as to why they don't want to do this. And they have a right to say this, by the way, because they're standing on solid ground. And that you looked at that 2017 draft, which was you just moving back and back. I believe it was the Malik McDowell draft where you moved out of the first round. You accumulate all of these third-round picks, and then really nothing comes of any of them. Mara Darbo didn't even make the roster. And I would just say to that's why you've got to me, quantify a little bit of the individual draft you're looking at. Not every draft is put together the same way. And if you have a unique draft where that's where a lot of that value of the draft is, well, then try to grab that. As well as I think in my trade back scenario, I was leaning more to getting into that second round, even into high third round phase, than I would have been getting into that back into the third round and just assembling those picks. Because it's going to get a little lighter at the end of that third round area. That's right where you're starting to dip out of that tier 2 phase of things. So see what you guys think on this. I appreciate you guys watching. If you do like what you're watching, please do right now, if you could for me, please, just take the people's elbow, put it right down there on your clicker and click that like button for me, please. Destroy it. Give it one right upside the head. Will help me out a lot. I appreciate it. As well as we will be, again, doing full draft coverage all through the week. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We're going to be streaming all days. So if you need a place to hang out, come on in here. We're going to be talking draft, talking picks, going through them all, going through all these scenarios. It's going to be it's kind of where this channel has almost at times the funnest time to hear at times, especially with the recent play of the football field. Hope you guys are doing good, though, today. Beautiful Sunday day. And again, if I missed you on the chat in the opening segment, sorry, we'll pick you back up here. So if you got any questions or comments, we'll start rolling here. D-Man W says the NFL draft is the most overhyped sports media event of the year. Most of these players drafted won't see a down in the NFL. It's definitely gotten hyped up beyond all measure at this point, but you'll have a hard time selling me on that because it's, again, a time of year that I really do love and enjoy. And I would counter that it's a time of year that as a team, as I said, there's teams in recent years that have had these kind of drafts, just wholly one draft where they just killed it from end to end. The Saints, for instance, had, I think it was 2018, where their talent was starting to drain out. Things were starting to, okay, we're now at the end of an era. Drew Brees can't throw the ball past 9 yards. So this is problematic. Team's getting a little older. And then they had a 2018 draft where it was, Kamara and Williams and Humphrey. And they just restacked their whole team almost with every player picked in that draft just about. And they got production out of them all. And it helped them, return to being an elite team, or at least for a couple of years, or at least a very good team for a couple of years that could compete. A team that would have gone to the Super Bowl, quite frankly, if not for a couple of bad calls at the end of their season in this time period. So it is one that for most, you're right in that for most teams they're going to miss. For most teams they're not going to make the right selections. But for those teams that do get it correct and do get it right, and we've seen this ourselves even within the last 10 years twice. The 2011 draft, the 2012 draft, let's go to it real quick here. And again, this is why this is a little bit about a hopeful view of the upcoming draft. 2011 draft. So let's go back to the Seahawks 2011 draft. James Carpenter, solid guard. Moffitt, KJ Wright, 10-year starter here. Durham, nothing. Richard Sherman, all-pro. Byron Maxwell, really good player for you. Malcolm Smith, former Super Bowl winner. Look what that class did in addition to what they were already doing in the background. And then you go back to back with that in 2012 and you kill it further in a good way. And then 2012, you go out, you get Bruce Irvin, Bobby Wagner, Russell Wilson in your first 3 picks. You didn't have to do anything else basically through almost the rest of that 2012 draft outside of grabbing J.R. Sweezy with just those three first picks that you made. And then especially when you're comboing it off the success of the previous year's draft. And so it is an overhyped year, but it's also when you're, especially a team like us, especially a team that's right now just seeing a couple of Hall of Famers walk out the door, have found ourselves in last place in our division. Now, there's not a lot of room for optimism right now as it currently stands with the confidence necessarily with those at the top running things as we look at it. This is where you should derive some hope and look to a little bit more forward thinking and go, no, let's see if they can do this. They've done it before. It's been a long time, and I've been as hard on this front office as just about anybody out there, I'm sure, but doesn't mean that they can't reach back into those bag of tricks once again and find that old formula. If again what they're doing, if you look at it, also is their if we call it their mantra or whatever, seems to be going back to the old blueprint, and that means maybe in every way, and maybe it was that old blueprint that helped bring about the best of their drafting success. King Bomber says maybe use a different simulator. Well, I'll try it. I'll look for a different one here before we do before I end off today. I'll see if I can find a different one. YDY says, I don't see JS trading down past 15 or so. He may not. Yami says that last one was insane value. It was insane value. And it'll be the one that'll be, this is why I'm committing to this right now. If Schneider does trade back in this particular draft, I'm a guy who has tended to be like, I'm tired of you trading back, just take the best player available on the board. This particular draft, with the state of the team in its current state, I put those two things together and go, I'm okay a little bit more with the trading back scenario of things. You need a lot of talent in a lot of positions, not a big time talent at just a couple of positions. And so if they do trade back, I'm definitely going to caution the chat to say this isn't a bad thing. This isn't the apocalypse at this point because this is occurring. But yeah, there's going to be some angry people. Like we finally picked top 10 and we ended up at 27. Megan says, I cannot believe, given what you've told me about JS and PS's history with top 10 picks, that you'd get rid of 9. You need to explain this to me at the Hawks Nest, as it makes no sense to me. Well, and Megan, with the way I describe things, remember, I try to describe things and I think it throws people off because I'll try to describe things with different hats I can wear. Let me wear that, and that's what this is going through these 5 scenarios. Let me wear the hat if they just stand pat and pick. Let me wear the hat of here they trade back. If we're looking at their history overall, Megan, the history for John Schneider and Coach Carroll is to trade back in the first round. Now, this year is different, obviously, in that they're picking in the top 10. When they have picked historically in top 15, they've not traded out of those picks. They've, as you're right, I've lamented it in the past that they've talked about how much they hate not being able to pick higher in the first round. But the reason they might do this is for the reasons that I just gave you. They may look at the current state of this team and the offensive line, the defense, the need for a pass rusher, need for a zero tech, the need for a changeover in personnel to 3-4 scheme, inside middle linebacker with Bobby gone now to pair there with Jordan. They may look at all of those needs within that, Megan, and say we need more guys than we need just this pure pick at number 9, this guy. I still would predict, Megan, that they would keep and make this selection. But the point of this is to build all of the possibilities that are not all the possibilities, but maybe the 5 most likely possibilities given John Schneider's history as it concerns the first round and, again, where the team is at. King Bomber, he probably wouldn't do that, and you probably wouldn't get all those resources. Probably not. But it's fun to play around with. Dead Center says, I think we may end up drafting Jermaine Johnson. It's possible. Jermaine's definitely a good pass rusher. He's a toolsy guy. I don't think he's super uber young, but young. Got the size that they'd look for at the position, got the explosiveness that they would look for at the position. It would make a lot of sense. Yami says, I'm so hyped for the draft. I hope I can make it work. I hope so too, Yami. I'd love to have you in here on the draft. I'll be going long too, long and late on all those days. So I'll be definitely doing a lot of streaming. Whitey Wise says there are guys who will go at 50 that have as much talent as the guy who goes at 20 this year. Exactly. And then maybe what you're doing by trading back this year, especially if it's to accumulate more second-round picks at the expense of moving back into the second round, is you're playing the understanding of that tiered game of going, okay, the tier's set to here where I can get more of these picks now because some team's going to value some guy they want to jump up for. I can now pull a couple of those extra picks out of this. And just get that little bit of extra value, essentially steal that extra guy in the draft. Seahawks Jose, are we still on for tomorrow? That's right, we are. We'll be on Jose Rodriguez's channel, folks. If you're not subbed up, please go over there and sub up to my man Mod Jose Rodriguez over there, Seahawks Jose Rodriguez. I'm going to be going over on his channel tomorrow. I think we're doing it at 6 o'clock. So I'll post it in the community section too as a post tonight, Jose, let a reminder to everybody. But I will be heading over there if you guys want to check it out. Doing a lot of streaming next week. A lot of streaming. Dead Center says, I think we'll trade back unless we get a blessing like Neil, Kayvon Thibodeau, Ekawanu, or Sauce. It would make sense for me, Dead Center. It makes sense, especially if they have a value on a guy like Devin Lloyd or Linderbaum, like we brought up in our mock scenario there. Those guys have every bit as much talent as the guys in the top 10. It's that they won't necessarily be picked in the top 10 because of positional value in the NFL, but very safe players who have a lot of star potential to them. And guys you could put in that same quantifiable category as those guys you mentioned, but you're now able to move back a few spaces to get them while still then picking up that extra second-round pick. Man W says there will always be exceptions to a rule, but I'm strictly talking about the media hype. For sure. I mean, it's definitely, again, it's by and large seems, to your point on that, D-Man, don't, kill it every draft. Most teams miss. And it certainly is getting, blown up to a large degree, but then, I'm also a perpetrator of it because I'm streaming for 3 days on it, but yeah, they get deep into it. They do. I think it is, though. I think they're all there's also reasons too. It's, the sport being what it is, where it's the career is so short. Being that also that it has opened up, I think, more further than other sports like, say, baseball, where you're drafted and you got to go through the minors for 3 years, or basketball, where you're sitting on the bench for 3 years as a 19-year-old. This is the sport where you can draft a guy and they can get right up on the football field and take off. So say nothing of a draft, kind of turning a whole team's fortunes around. What of the draft of getting just those exciting talent that makes sometimes your team a little more watchable or able to be watched, especially if they're not in the best of states. King Bomber says Johnson's stock has been dropping. I personally don't like him. I'm not as high on him as others, King Bomber. I wouldn't curse the pick at 9, but I certainly wouldn't love it as much as other picks, or versus trading back and getting one of Lloyd or Linderbaum. King Bomber says, I'd much prefer grabbing a bunch of seconds, especially in this sort of draft where there's a lot of depth in the second round, over getting a Jermaine Johnson. Me too. Me too. As long as it isn't Jermaine Jackson. Hee hee. Why do I contacts have not come through at work yet? Plenty of time to watch film. Devin Lloyd and Arnold Ebiketie have become two of my most favorite players. Lloyd's 43 passer rating for coverage, game changer. He is. Lloyd's not gotten enough appreciation through this drafting process for the type of player that he is. And the coverage skills, this is what you need in a modern linebacker. And he's got the run skills too with it. So that's the thing, is like you give up nothing with him. But the coverage skills, I haven't had a player quite jump to mind in watching the tape on them who just, I see a Derek Brooks guy in his ability to drop into zone coverage, hit that back foot plant, and drive on the ball, and do so in setting the quarterback up and baiting the quarterback to make that throw. Not, a lot of linebackers can drop into space and they're going to lean to their coverage responsibility and they're going to squeeze the window on the quarterback from his read and dissuade him then from making that throw, and then he goes on to his other read. What he does is he gets his guy dropping in front of him, and he gets the quarterback to think, oh, there's an extra 1.5 yards there of space. I can get this ball in there. But then he's so quick, his anticipation is so good that the second that quarterback's arm goes back to throw, he's already driving 2 steps towards the player. And he'll undercut the pass, pick it, run it back for 6. I mean, you're going to see him do that on Sundays. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And Ebiketie's a very fun pass rusher, man. He has a lot in his toolkit that he works with. Mark Abercorn says, I would have taken Strong over Ritter, though. Hit like and sub button for this hard-working man. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. I wouldn't hate Mark Carson Strong. He's grown on me over this evaluation process. And I didn't hate him at the beginning of things, but I'm an arm strength guy, kind of first and foremost with quarterbacking. Processing is probably like second, but for me, arm strength is a big part of what I need them to be able to do. And Strong has that every bit and more. Maybe the most in this class. Might have no pun intended, the strongest arm in this class. King Bomber, I prefer not taking Cross or Stingley, but that's the worst case scenario. That's not the worst case scenario. No, King Bomber. You're right. I mean, it's one that there's guys that'll get you more excited, less excited. There's a lot of safe picks at number 9. I think you're talking about worst case scenario situations. You're talking about Trevor Penning at number 9. You're talking about Matt Corral at number 9. Like those are worst case scenario type situations for this draft. No, those would be, good additions to the team. They're going to help the football team out, and that's what we need right now. Tom, I don't see Seattle trading up or back based off of the Schneider's comment. I could be wrong, though. It's possible. I think that we shouldn't read into a lot of what is said right now by the coaching staff or by the front office. No one's going to show their hand prior to the draft. No one's going to come in the draft and go, we just are going to pick here. No one can offer us anything. We're just going to select here, and that's just what we're going to do, and then do that. Instead, in fact, what they're going to probably do on the other end of it is probably make teams think they're doing something else completely than what they intend to do. That's, I think, how, by and large, most teams run their show. So Schneider will be saying certain things here, but I don't think we should take a ton away from it. I don't think he's going to show our hand, especially this year where there may have been background changes in the way that the selections happen and who has final say here, which may cause even more potential for this draft to be a little more different than what we've normally come to see, and then hence less predictable. D-Man, I trust Schneider and Carroll to make the right decisions, whether they stay put or draft down. I hope they do, man. I hope they do. Why do I am all aboard team trade down. Get as many second round picks as Seattle can this draft. This is a special draft for tier 2 talent. Can fill so many holes by trading back a lot. You really can. You really can. You set the stage well to do so by it. Second round, early third round. You're coming through with quite a few players. We saw that in the last mock that we ran. It would be a nice haul, a nice pull to be able to go that direction. Why do I? There are guys who will go at. Oh, sorry, I read that. King Bomber says this could. I could see a team's not giving up as much to move up, which might be a sign to take one of our top 8 guys on our draft board. Yeah, King Bomber, if you're looking at a team giving you this, let's say a 17 to move up to 9, and they're offering you a then mid to late third round pick to do so on that, if you're getting that kind of weak offer, don't do it. I think what could cause a team to trade up in this scenario is one of two things. There's number one, there is some kind of specialized guys in this draft that a team could get to fall in love with and go, this is our guy. This is the guy we want here. Jordan Davis, wide variety of opinions on this player out there, but there might be teams that say this guy's worth it for us to trade up and go get if he drops into 9 because we just like him that much. Quarterbacks. So there may be a team that likes one of, I guess we're in the top 2 guys right now at the moment are Malik Willis and Pickett. Do one of them want to trade up and do it? Does the Steelers want to move up and grab it? Certainly, if I trade back King Bomber, I want to do it from a point of strength and not necessity. We have to trade back here. But if some team's willing to come up and say, here's a second round pick, here's a top end second round pick for you to move back 7 or 8 spots, to me that's a pretty no-brainer decision to make at that point. So the Hawks Nest says, Megan, you're telling me we have waited years to get a top 10 pick and we're going to get rid of it? Okay. But don't bitch that it's hard to pick in later rounds or about what you get. Again, it's every draft is not built the same way, Megan. You know, like I harp on this, it's not the same draft over and over. The way the players shake out, the type of talent that you have available to you is not the same way. So like the reference that I placed was on 2017 where they did something similar. And the 2 places that they went wrong on that, which would be the places that I would go differently. I don't have a problem, Megan, if they sit and just pick the pick at number 9. I'm not going to squawk if they just pick the pick at number 9. I'm only bringing out the potentials here. I'm not saying these are what I want to do or what I think is going to happen. If I had a preference, I'd like to trade down and get an extra second round pick because the player you're picking at 15, Megan, is very similar to the player you're picking at 9. So like we just ran through the scenarios on this, Megan. You got Linderbaum and Devin Lloyd there, right? I put Devin Lloyd and Linderbaum as far as a talent-wise in the same place that you could put the top 3 offensive linemen in this draft, Stingley, Sauce. Go through any of those top guys. You can put them into that same tier 1 range, right, Megan? So they're tier 1 players. So if Schneider moves back to 15 and he gets Linderbaum or Lloyd, to me, he's accomplishing the same thing as getting a Thibodeau, but then plus he's also gotten a second round pick. That's the way I see it on it. Michael YT says, when I saw the tweet where Keenan Allen said that he wasn't appreciated enough because he's only underrated, but he should be a top 5 receiver, I looked at his stats for this year and continued. He had 106 catches for 1,138 yards, 71 receptions, 71 yards per game, and also made the Pro Bowl. Yeah, he's a good player. I mean, to me, he's a possession guy kind of with the occasional big play in his game. He's a phenomenal route runner. He's definitely top, I think, 10. But I think there's probably 5 guys that sit ahead of him on that list. I mean, I'd have to break out the what that list would be. So I'm just saying this off the top of my head, but I would think that. But he's very good. He is really good, and he's been good for a very long time. You're on the Chargers, and you get a little bit forgotten about there. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, Naman Nah, man, long and late might now cut it. My work hours this week just fine for time zone. Hope I don't do overtime much. I hope you don't either, man. Gotta chill. Gotta spend some time chilling. Yui says, I definitely think it's more likely than not that the Seahawks trade back from 9, especially if Willis is still available at 9. Agreed. I mean, it could be that's the spot where a team could go, well, we're not having to give up the draft capital, move top 5 to get Willis. We're not having to pay him top 5 money now at this point. It's a little more easy for us to swallow the cost to go up to 9, like let's say the Steelers going up from 20. And that's the one that just to me stands out the most. 20 to 9, we get a second round pick. That one just kind of seems the one that makes a lot of sense. King Bomber, Seattle will trade down, and not trading down would be a terrible idea if the best player available is Hamilton and our pick is Johnson. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, they would go that route, King Bomber. They would choose Johnson over Hamilton. I'm with you though. I'm a Hamilton man. Micah, remember the time, if the front office is really smart, they should trade for additional picks for next year. I heard it's even more loaded than this. I'm assuming the John Schneider trade back as an option. You could see it. I think you could see it. Jack Sean, John gave a big clue on Thursday. He and Pete are learning German because Bernard Raymond is their guy. Expect them to trade down into the late teens, 20s, and take him. Thoughts? I would be very surprised that a general manager was showing his hand prior to the draft in that kind of way. I think he's maybe having some fun with it a little bit. Bernard Raymond is a guy that, Jack, I've not been able to watch a lot of tape on because there's not a lot of tape available to me on YouTube to go find of him. He has obviously got the size dimension and athletic dimensions that you don't normally get an offensive lineman. He is very rough. He is very raw. He is reportedly, though, a very quick learner in the background. He's been training with some of those, these young kids get with these offensive line maestros, these gurus who are able to start refining their technique a little bit faster prior to them arriving at training camp and with the team. But again, with me, it's hard to have much of an opinion on him because I just haven't watched a lot of him play. And even if what I've seen of him play, it's not against top-end competition. So I'm a little blah on that type of pick. And I also just don't think that they're really showing their hand like that to that degree. I'd be surprised if they truly were, showing you that they're going to take Raymond that far out. Why do I says, we talked about last year being the smallest draft class ever. This is the largest. With the extra year of eligibility, be prepared to see many good players drafted who are 23 to 24. That is a part of this year's draft, is you're getting a lot of guys with that extra year. It's for sure. As I've said, I think that can only kind of help this draft class out overall in general. Certainly you get older prospects, though. You've got to factor that into your assessment on how much potential development you're going to see from those guys. But it should be at least a very deep class. Jose, first day of the draft, my wife and daughter are going to be at Disneyland, so I get to stay home and crack some beers and watch Pete and John work their magic. Oh, Pete's putting on the Merlin hat, right? He's going to go out there and get some of that holly wood that the Druids used to use in their wands, and he's going to make it happen. He's going to make some miracles happen this week. He's gonna have a 2011 draft. He's gonna have a little 2012 draft. Believe. Michael YT says, but then I looked at Lockett's stats and he had 73 catches for 1,175 yards, 73 yards a game, but didn't make the Pro Bowl. So Lockett had less catches for more yards and yards per game, but didn't make the Pro Bowl. Yeah, I mean, Lockett is certainly, Mike, a guy that's very much been underappreciated in the NFL now. I mean, he's feels like he's maybe starting to get a little bit more of a look like people are kind of begrudgingly giving him some credit in the league. But 4 straight years of 1,000 yards, basically. I mean, 1 year is 25 yards short, but let's give him the credit for it. 4 straight years of 1,000 yards receiving, and he's barely talked about out there amongst people as far as that guy. But he's been really good. He's been really good. Be interesting to see, too, if anything, it seems like he's going to be here for at least the next couple of years as well with that contract extension. So we'll see if he can continue to keep that production up now that Russell's out of town. Obi-Wan says, what do you think if we select Linderbaum, kick Blythe to left guard, and move on from Gabe? He's going to struggle at left guard, but return Lewis to his natural position and move on from Blythe after this year. I don't think that there's anything to lose, Obi-Wan, by just keeping everything kind of status quo, to be honest with you. You only save $3 million by moving on from Gabe Jackson, and I think you're sitting on something like a $6 million dead money hit to move on from him. So if you're not really going to save the money at that point, why not just build positional depth? One of my things I'm railing on recently with this team on the offensive line is not only to add the talent, the front end talent, the starters, but also to have the depth in place behind those frontline starters. The NFL has now added an extra game. The NFL now has allotted an extra playoff game. There's just more of a potentiality now to you having to play more football games. So having a deeper roster becomes that much more important, in my opinion. So I would just keep it where it is at that point. Do what the Chiefs did last year, Obi. They brought in Creed Humphrey and had Blythe sitting as a backup tutor type and let him tutor again. Let him tutor for $4 million. King Bomber, is it a thing with you and SBM about calling coral? I don't know. I'm getting old. It gets harder to pronounce things as you get old. You just start mumbling, muttering, mispronouncing. That. I'm so hard on the kid. I was going to say an awful joke about Matt. I'm struggling with Matt. I don't want to learn his name because I'm hoping by not having to learn how to pronounce his name correctly, that'll mean in some weird way I'll have adjusted the universe to make it not happen. So Megan, I know you're having a hard time with understanding this, but I guess let me see if you've understood as far as the recent thing I said. So just on this, Megan, and just address for that your understanding with this, that not all draft classes are the same, right? Like different draft classes are to different places. And one of the reasons that I railed in the past, Megan, on this is it's not just, remember again, Megan, on the channel, nothing is ever simple here as far as there's just one reason for an approach or a thought process, at least as it concerns me. I usually have a multitude of reasons behind why I believe any set thing that I believe. So if we go back to recent history on railing into Seattle and them trading back and being against that approach, part of that is to do with the fact that those draft classes weren't set up for you to get the good talent at that place. When you're trading back, as I gave you, for instance, Megan, I'm giving you an exact example here, 2017, 3 third-round picks, 1 fourth-round pick, 5 picks all within about 16 picks, relatively high picks. But I explained why those weren't very good picks, because that particular draft didn't have that same talent level at that place that a draft like, let's say, this one does. Even though, again, I still wouldn't say it's a good measure to trade back all the way deep into the back end of the third round. That's where you're hoping to make the most of your draft, is essentially all the way back over in there. I'm talking about trading into the second round area of things. So I'm trying to put it in that as well. The other reason with this, Megan, so that's the first reason. Reason number 2 in relation to this is that the team is in a different state. I railed on Megan them trading back because in the past you were in a quote-unquote going for it state. You were a Super Bowl contending team, and I put that with big, fat, heavy quotation marks. You are no longer in that state. You are now in a rebuilding state. You are now in a need to stack a lot of talent, not precise talent, right? Prior to the team before, you could go, we need this left guard to be really good, and we need a pass rushing 3-tech, and we need this. So then that would then inform your drafting philosophy to say, well, let's target in on the best of those guys in this particular draft. Let's go for the quality of that in this particular draft. But now you're not in that place. You're running backs. You really could use a left guard and move, like somebody else said, Damian Lewis back to right guard. You need a center. You need a right tackle. You need a left tackle. You need an inside linebacker. You need a 0-tech. You need an outside 3-4 linebacker. You need probably another cornerback. That couldn't hurt. It's a lot. It's a lot. And so being the team's in a different place, there's different reasons for doing it. You never just apply a one-size-fit-all rule, Megan, to just how you do things every given way along the track. Every point, Every draft, every year, every spot that you look at your roster, you should be going through a full assessment of where things are at and what's the proper decision for this year right now. I have general rule of thumbs, but nothing is in cement, right? Kalamoki, I don't know why we even do this and hope Seattle drafts the players we talk about. We are drafting some random name from a bottom 100 school, and John will call them and say, remember what we talked about. Big facts. Big facts. We probably should prepare ourselves, Kyle. Easy Money. What's up, Easy Money? What do you think Seahawks fans think Pete Carroll does with his first round pick? Quarterback? No, I think they're going to drift more towards picking the best player available on the board. Easy. And so I think I mean, if it's one of the tackles that are on the board, it'd be that. If it's Gardner there, that. Stingley, that. I mean, if it's kind of whoever's picked up ahead of us, obviously is going to dictate some of this. But I do think they're going to be driven, if they stand pat at number 9, by simply taking who the best guy is that they have on the board. And I think that there will be a little more of a consensus as to that guy agreeing with what most people have, including the Seahawks fan base, is their top 9 guys, that it'd be a worthy guy to be selected in that range. King Bomber says, right, I think a lot of people would agree taking Linderbaum plus second-round selection over Jermaine Johnson. Yeah, I mean, that's a way better scenario to me. I like that. Linderbaum's a way more safer player you're bringing in, not to mention it's addressing what's been one of the biggest weaknesses of your football team in the last 5, if not 7 years. King Bomber, and your second-round pick possibly could be Boy Mafe, who might have been a top 10 pick. He's got a lot of potential. And he is uniquely built in a way that not many pass rushers in this draft are built, from a size, length, speed, explosiveness quotient. Easy Money asks, which quarterback do I want? I'm still a Ritter guy. If I've got to be pressed to go get a quarterback, Easy Money. The best ideal scenario, if the team is absolutely dead set on drafting a quarterback for me, is, okay, then go take Carson Strong in the 3rd round. But as far as the quarterback I like the most, that I enjoyed watching the most film on, it was Desmond Ritter. Jeffrey Nicholson, this draft class is deep. That's why trading our first rounder for a late first and a second is brilliance. It is. It's a different, and this is a different class in that respect. Some of this is, somebody else mentioned this above. Remember with this draft, folks, as they like to talk about this being a weak draft, that sentiment has been driven by the fact that there aren't the top end quarterbacks, right? There aren't those sexy quarterbacks at the top with the big arms and there's none of that in this draft, right? This is a very kind of boring top end of the draft. Oh, there's some good linemen. Okay, pass rushers. There's not those lightning guys that people are just like, yeah. So it's made people put this draft in a category for a lot of people in their minds of it's a weak draft class. It's not up to snuff. When in actuality, it's actually a lot deeper than you normally see, and a lot deeper at the top end of the scale than it normally is. And I think a lot of that is driven by, as somebody else mentioned up in the chat, that extra year of eligibility that pushed forward. Those guys last year that had the vid season in college, that a lot of them lost whole college years and seasons, were able, with the NCAA exception, to go back and play an extra year in college. So last year, look at the amount of players in totality that declared for the draft versus this year, the amount of total players that declared for the draft. And it's something like, I believe, like a 35% to, if not more so, increase over last year. The sheer volume of that will increase the quality of this draft class. Make no mistake about it. And that's why, again, this one's just a little bit of a unique draft in that respect from other drafts in the past. We've not had a draft impacted by a pandemic before. Draft class. Not in this kind of way. Megan says, so why trade Russ for 9 if we aren't going to use it? Isn't that a waste of draft capital? No, because draft capital is it's what you're getting in totality of the draft, Megan. So it's not about the one great player you picked. It's what have you done in totality of your draft, and you can get great players not just with that number 9 pick. You can get them in other places. So remember as well with Russ, you didn't just trade Russ for this pick. You also have next year's first round pick. You also have next year's second round pick. You had Noah Fant. You've got Shelby Harris, lock for whatever that's going to bring us back as far as a return. So there was a lot that went into that trade, Megan. It wasn't just that 9th pick. But no, it's not a waste of a trade. If you go and get, again, think of this simply, Megan. If we just think of it, because I think this is what your mind's caught up in. I trade out of that 9 and I don't get a tier 1 player. What if I still get a tier 1 player by trading out of 9, but then I pick up an extra second rounder? So throw everything out that's kind of cluttering your head on this one. Just think of it in that simple point of I want these tier 1 guys, and I have a bubble of tier 1 guys they're just awesome. And I want one of those guys, right? I want one of them. And I'm going to move from 9 to 15 and still get one of them that I would have got a 9. There's nothing lost then. You still got one of those tier 1 guys. And my point on this, and the most important thing is to get the tier 1 guy, to get one upper end. Doesn't matter if I have to get him at 15 or I get him at 9. Megan says, but like I said, I'm going to shut up and not say anything about it because I don't understand clearly at the Hawks Nest. It's okay. I don't mind explaining on this, Megan. So if anything, I'm happy to explain my point and try to get it through clearly on it. Again, I think the thing to do where we want to categorize things sometimes in our mind in a way to make it easier to categorize. So it's like, well, that's the rule of thumb on that. So it's that way. It's a rule of thumb, but there's also reasons why you would break the rules, right? Why you're not going to just mass apply it to every which way. You got to also bring in other factors into play. Where's the current state of the team? Where's the team from a talent standpoint? What is there to be gained by moving back? Is it as much a loss as it would be in the past? This team's moved out. For instance, let's go with Megan again, where I've railed in the past was the LJ Collier pick. You could have picked up in that first round and gotten a much better pass rusher, but you got cute, traded back, and lost out on that tier 1 talent and pass rushers for a tier 3 talent pass rusher. It's one reason on that draft night I called him a bust. So it gets hard if you start painting all this with too broad of a brush and not just taking it really with all the details. Go Cyan says, get your tissues ready for the draft. Well, tissues, some Jack Daniels, each their own. Joe Strew, please no quarterback this year. Build the trenches and bring in a star next season. Trade back, please. I'm with it, Joe. I am with it, man. I would like to avoid getting a quarterback if possible in this draft. Nate saw on Twitter Hawks would want to trade back for a quarterback, or will they trade one of the seconds? I would imagine that they will, if they go for a quarterback in the first round, like we're hearing reports of, be it Ritter or Corral, it's going to probably be one of our second round picks and maybe a future next year second round pick, maybe a second and a third round pick in this draft. Could be a variety of different ways they build up that value there to make that selection. But it would look something like that, and then you'd be trading up at the back end of the first round, and you'd do so to get the 5th-year option on the quarterback. That would be the main reason you'd want to do it. Jeffrey says this draft class has talent all the way to early 4th round. Yeah, I think the top 10 picks in the 4th round is right where it starts to falter. Megan says, so can you explain in terms of draft position what you consider each tier to be? Yeah, I think that there's about 13 players in this draft, Megan, that are like 13 runaway tier 1 guys. So let me give you like tier 1 guys would be, I've actually got it on my list here. So let me give you my tier 1 guys. Tier 1 guys would be Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, George Karlaftis, Trayvon Walker, Derek Stingley, Ahmad Gardner, Kyle Hamilton, Devin Lloyd, Tyler Linderbaum, Evan Neal, Charles Cross, Ika Magawanu, and I would probably put Jamison Williams in that category as well. So those guys are all those guys would be my tier 1 guys, Megan. Every one of those guys. But what's going to happen is that you're going to see guys overdraft, right? The draft doesn't play out in a vacuum. So you have teams like Carolina that will reach for a Cody Pickett, sliding guys then down along that board of that top 13. And that's going to happen a couple of times in the top 12, 13 selections. Teams will pick for need. Teams will pick outside of what everybody else has from a consensus standpoint, the way the board falls. So you're going to probably end up, and the two guys that I think are likely to drop on that then, Megan, are going to be your Devin Lloyd and your Tyler Linderbaum. Not because they aren't good, not because they're not tier 1 guys, but because the NFL looks at the center position and looks at the middle linebacker position as devalued positions in the sport, a lot like running back or safety. They're just not held in the same high esteem or the same need as an edge rusher, as a blindside left tackle, as a left guard, as a cornerback. There's just other things that they're going to positionally put above that. So you have them slide for that reasons, but that doesn't mean that they aren't going to be of great value to you. You have a desperate need at center. You have another desperate need at middle linebacker with running more 3-4 looks now, like they're talking about doing. So it fits to a need, and it's a best player available on your board, and you pick up a round 2. You pick up another round. You pick up another second round in addition to the trade. But all those I mentioned, Megan, would all be tier one guys with like good star potential, right? That's what you're basically talking about with tier 1. Better than just a starter with star potential. Joe Strew says, how wide is the gap really between tackles like Charles Cross and Deesh or Raymond and Max Mitchell? Would it be that bad to draft from the second tier of tackles? I do think that there's a pretty substantial drop from the top 3 left tackles to when you even get into starting to talk about Trevor Penning, Raymond, and then on to Deesh, like you mentioned. I'm very high, Joe, on Max Mitchell. So I do have a second round grade on Max. I like him quite a bit on the tape I watched. I think he's got some potential at both left and right tackle if you need him to play either or, having done so at college. It's not the worst thing to end up with the tier 2 tackles here. These guys have talent. They do have talent. But there is a little bit of a drop difference versus if you have Cross at 9 versus going with Max Mitchell in the second round or Petit Ferrer out of Ohio State in the second round. I mean, that's going to be a difference. But they are talented. It's not to say that they don't have talent, but just like, take Raymond. He's played at a smaller school. Don't have a lot of great tape of him against upper-level talent. He's very raw around the edges. I'm going to have to refine the hell out of his game. How long is this going to take? So it's a little bit of that projecting point to him, not the talent problem point. Jack Shaw, if the top 3 tackles are gone, they will trade back. That's where Raymond comes into play. They're coming away with a tackle. Hard to see them not, Jack. I mean, if they don't come away with the tackle in this draft in the first three rounds, that tells me that they're probably going to be bringing back Dwayne Brown or Fisher if he's still available out there in free agency. Because they got to do something to the position, don't they? Easy Money says, which quarterback would you be the most mad at the Seahawks drafting in the first round? This is a really easy question for me to answer, Easy. Really easy answer for me. Actually, wait. The one I'd be most mad about, the one I'd be most mad about would be Matt Corral. I'm going to start saying his name right. Put some respect on his name. Matt Corral would be the one. Easy Money. I'm not in on the. I'm not in on Matt. I think I can. It's not to say that there isn't some talent there. I do acknowledge there is some for an indoor arena league, but not for my starting quarterback of my team. That one would make me a little annoyed. Why do I? Says if Seattle did not have so many needs, then I would understand people wanting to stay at 9. If Seattle was one stud away from being a Super Bowl, then stay and get your guy. But Seattle has so many holes. Very well said. Why do I? That's kind of my point on it. And this is the first off season we've had in 10 years here where we've been in this state as a team, where we are not in a state of how are we going to win the division and how are we going to get back to the Super Bowl. We certainly would love to believe we're in that place right now, but we're just frankly not. More and more, we've got to build this thing back up. Kyle says, Ritter is the most NFL-ready quarterback in this draft. Who would you rather have, though, Ritter or Bryce next year? I got to watch more of Bryce Young's film, Kyle. Admittedly, I watched a passing bit of it, and I liked what I saw. I am a little worried. Same kind of worries and concerns I have with a guy like Matt Corral, I have a little bit with Bryce Young's build as well. And I think the slider quarterbacks, for whatever reason, I think over the last 5 years, a trend in the NFL is that slider quarterbacks are having the door opened more to them and getting the NFL and being drafted high and getting to a starting position. But I'm still a little bit of the opinion of the prerequisite kind of build and size you're going to need is the best for the position. And I don't know if he has that. So I do need to do a little more studying on Bryce's game, where he really is. But overall, I'm going to lean in my answer to saying Bryce next year with that preloaded as an answer. I'll say Bryce next year because I would just rather go for the best players available on the board. And if you're picking in the top of the second round, if you're talking about picking at the end of the first round where Ritter is rumored to go, there are better players available on the board at that point. You're reaching for need of position to select it, which at least with Bryce, I have the potential of saying that that's not the case. Yami says, Brandon is saying that the tier 1 guys this year are as small as 8 to 10 guys. The tier 2 guys are around 30 to 40 people with relatively equal skills. So you got the mismatch in numbers. So some need to drop. So pick someone in the second worth the tier as the middle first. That's pretty much it, Yami. I mean, that's where it is. I would even round out that number that you said, the 30, the tier 2 guys go from tier, like I said, you got the tier 1 is about 13, 14 guys. So tier 2 would be 15 through 65. I think it's that deep this year. And frankly, as you guys saw in the last one we ran, the first 60 picks that we had there on the board there, you saw with the guys that we had available for us to select at the back of that second round with all those trade back scenarios we did at the top of the show. Those guys will be available in this draft, and it's so unusual that's not normally the case. Normally, the top guys have been plucked through, and now you're picking through the also-rans at this point. You're taking flyers. You're wishing on a star, those type of things. That's just not quite the case this particular year. Tuna, would you agree with shoring up the lines and getting a good cornerback and waiting for quarterback next year? Tuna Cat, I would. That's the play position I most advocate for. On top of the problems with drafting a quarterback in this particular draft, where there really isn't one that warrants a first-round grade, you're maybe selecting a guy in the first round of this draft who has a cumulative third-round grade if you were to take polls throughout the leagues and front offices. Like you would just take 32 NFL teams and say, what is your grade on Desmond Ritter? What is your grade on Sam Howell? And then take out the base average of those 32 teams. I think you would come to a third-round grade on the majority of these quarterbacks in this draft. So I don't like, first and foremost, reaching for that type of need on a player who really isn't that talented enough to earn being selected at that position. As well as I think you're getting, I use this comparison a lot, you're getting the cart before the horse. You don't have an offensive line in place to protect the kid. You don't have an offensive line in place to allow that kid to fly. You're going to get that kid hammered. You're going to get that kid jumpy. You're going to get him bailing out of the pocket. You're not going to get him going through multiple reads. You're going to go one read and then go. And that's not the type of way you want to build your quarterback up. You want him to be able to have a little bit of time to develop, and time within the pocket is very key to that. So you do that with an offensive line, that by which we don't have and is more necessary at this point. So address the offensive line first and then wait for a quarterback who really does deserve to be selected that high. Oliver Yates, Stroud's certainly there, Oliver. My early guy out the gate, and again, this is just to admit, I've done a lot of tape study on these quarterbacks in this draft. I've not done anywhere near as much on the guys in next year's draft. So with Stroud, I've liked a little bit of what I've seen with him, but much like with Young, I need to watch a little bit more with him. I have watched a couple of games of Will Levis And I've watched a few games of Stroud and Young as well, just not concentrating on them because I was watching Olave and Wilson and some other guys, within their offensive line and whatnot. But Will Levis for me is QB number one right now. He's the guy that I've been most impressed with off the future tape, and I think he's got everything that ticks the boxes for what I would look for in a quarterback, at least initially. What's nice here is we get another year of tape study to kind of break that down with these guys. Mike Laws says next year will be a COVID draft too. It will be, Mike. You're right. I mean, that impact has happened across the course of a few years. It's a ripple effect. And we're going to continue to feel it going forward because that extra year of eligibility, of course, every player essentially got. It wasn't just those seniors who got another year to come back to school. It was the players as underclassmen and juniors and whatnot. So yeah, you will continue to see full drafts over the next few years as well. In addition to that, and it's it's odd, right? Because the NCAA has never granted an extra year of eligibility in force across the whole entire country to every college player at every college. That's never happened in college football before. So you would think that there's going to be some effect of that, right? Cause and effect. There's going to be in to a positive degree, just more players, more talent injected in over the next couple of years because of it. Easy Money says, very interesting. Interested in reasoning behind not liking Coral. Also, where do you think Coral, I keep saying Coral. See, it always goes back to Coral for me. I'll never be able to say his name right. It's embedded. Where do I think Coral lands? Very good question. I do think that he will probably be selected, I think, in the second round. As far as a landing place for him that would make sense, it's a very good question. Where would be a good place for him? Like Tennessee in the second round would make a lot of sense. And I'll give you what I like first with Corral. He's got the quickest delivery in the class with very clean mechanics within that. That stands out. Guys like Ritter and Malik Willis will sometimes go sidearm on the delivery. Sometimes their feet get wide. Sometimes it just doesn't look as much as what you want to see. Just in the base, letting the ball go free and easy. He's also got not only is his delivery quick, but he throws with a lot of power inside of 15 yards. Everything outside of 15 yards, though, the power begins to wane. And part of that is because he brings the arm so damn quick up to the side of his head to throw the ball, he loses a little bit of power by doing so. So when you throw the ball, you could do this with a baseball even, but when you throw a ball and you go up like this, and then you go like this, you're removing what, in my pitcher background, you wanted the dexterity, you wanted flexibility. The more and longer my motion can get to getting over to delivering essentially at times, the more I can theoretically generate as far as velocity and power within that. Now, there does come a line on this where you're doing too much, right? Where the windup is too much, and now you're allowing cornerbacks to jump on the ball, and everyone can see where the ball is going to be going prior to you actually releasing it. So there's kind of that. Perfect area you want to land in on your delivery. But for me, Corral lands a little bit too much on the other end of that board where it's just literally come up to my ear and then release it out. And I think that's part of what causes his power to then wane 15 yards on with the throws. When he has a harder time getting it up the football field, I think that's the number one thing that then starts to hit him with that is that he needs that extra bit in his delivery to go to get it up and put those balls in the right place. Anything as well, he's really accurate, throws with a ton of precision, throws with great timing, throws with anticipation on those throws, post routes, slants, drag routes, anything inside that 15-yard territory, he's lethal. But likewise, everything then deep down the field, on top of the power wanes, the accuracy wanes. Go watch him run a 55-yard go route, and the ball he's throwing everything in the hopes that he gets it there. He's not throwing it with that. He's not in the Russell Wilson camp of precisely putting his deep ball right where he wants it. He's putting it hopefully in the realm of around where the receiver is. Maybe, hopefully, probably not. And so that bothers me with him as well. And then just the fact that every time that he gets hit by a tackler, it looks like they plant C4 on his jersey and then hit an ignition switch because he goes flying, body parts go flying, the football goes flying. He's a fumble waiting to happen at the NFL level because of that. And I just don't think his size is going to hold up at the next level. I think he's very slight of build. And I think that even getting injured in college is going to be indicative of what you're going to see at the pro level. A guy that also has to learn how to play safe with that very slight build, which means a lot more bumps and bruises and probably time on the DL or on baseball season, DL. Time inactive, time off on the sidelines to get himself back to healing as he tries to figure out how to play that safe way while still trying to be this alpha type on the field. It doesn't go together for me with Coral. It just doesn't quite go together there. Jack Sean, Tony Pauline is reporting that they are planning to move back up into the first to take a quarterback, likely either Ritter or Corral. Fifth-year option is key here. That's the key. You get into second, third round, right? You get your first 3 years, they're on contract. Then you get to the fourth-year option like we are now in on DK. That means that's the last fourth-year option. Then they become a free agent. So with a quarterback, especially the quarterbacks in this draft, who, because one of the reasons that you don't have first-round grades on them, especially guys like Corral, are that you're expecting them to take a little bit of time to develop. Well, that makes that fifth-year option all that much more important to have that so that you can afford to have that extra time of year to get him to build a little bit closer to where you're hoping he'll get. Yami says, I think Corral's problem... Oh, I had it there, Yami, sorry. Yami says, I think Corral's problem is that he does RPOs around 40% of the time. We just don't know how he processes anything else. That's also another problem. That's a very good point, Yami, one I forgot to mention within my assessment. Everything with him is RPO to the one read. Play action, play action, play action. It's that out of an RPO, pistol look a lot of the times. He's just not going to do that at the NFL level. He's not going to do anything close to that at the NFL level. And I do have concerns with that in the way that they run that. Certainly not coming here with the West Coast offense we run to do it. Jeffrey Nicholson, so we can all make our elaborate draft boards, make our predictions. Truth is, Seahawks will most likely make picks we never expected. It's possible. I will say if they do stand pat at number 9, Jeffrey, when they picked Russell Okung prior to that draft, many of us thought maybe they're going to take Russell Okung here. Trent Williams was vaulting up boards. He was going to go top 5. The other teams between you and Okung weren't likely to take a tackle, or at least you hope they weren't. They could have, but there were other needs they had. So there was a chance you knew you were going to get Okung. Earl Thomas, same way. Earl Thomas made a lot of sense where they were selecting from a value standpoint. He was in need for the defense. And there was a lot of people putting him together with us prior to that draft. I will give you the Bruce Irvin one was a complete left field. No one expected him to go in the first round. And somebody was mentioning last week, Nick Bonito would be the equivalent of a Bruce Irvin pick in the first round of this draft, where it'd just be like, what? Who? What? Who? But it certainly is possible, man. It certainly is possible. Megan says, agreed on Levis, quarterback 1 next year. He's so good, Megan. He's so much fun to watch. Just fearless, big, good arm, throws with anticipation, throws with touch. I just like his. I got to watch more, but I do like what I saw at first view. Much better, Megan, than what I saw from the quarterbacks of this draft. Jared Johnson, it's always going to be best to build the rest of the team before you get a quarterback. That creates the longest window for winning because you don't have to pay the quarterback massive money. It's a fantastic point, Jared. And that's another part that plays into this, is that it does open that door up for you to do that. Once you build an offensive line, it provides you the flexibility of not being held over the barrel when the quarterback comes up for negotiation, if you want to build your team that way. There's so many pluses and gains to me to just, when we look at the offensive line, for instance, and getting it built right or getting the rest of the team in place before you get the quarterback, the benefits of it that are returned to you on top of this has been the most normal blueprint teams across the league have used to go out there and get Super Bowl titles who don't have Tom Brady running the show for them. And if that's the case, I lean into that particular blueprint as much as I can, and I hope the team does as well. But yeah, you get the quarterback first, and this is what bad teams do. Bad teams like why have the Jets been bad for years? Why the Jets why can't they get a quarterback, man? Why can't they? Was your offensive line right before you got Wilson? Oh, it wasn't? Oh, and Wilson got injured his first year. Oh, okay. Chicago Bears. Why can't we get a quarterback? Man, 20 years, it's been since the 50s we've had a quarterback. Well, can't we get quarterbacks right here, man? God, can't get quarterbacks right. Can't get quarterbacks right. Let's go get Justin Fields. Yeah, but what about your offensive line? You've got Jermaine Ifedi on your offensive line. Yeah. Details, schmeetails. This is Chicago, baby. We run deep dish and brats. Okay, we don't and we run defense. It's the monsters of the midway here. We'll figure it out. He can run around or whatever. And then what happens? Justin Fields gets injured. Do it right, do it correctly, do it properly. The misses of this have been so much, and so often. This rule has been should have been hammered into general managers' heads by this point. But some still don't quite get it. And it's odd to see. I know that many are under the gun, under a timetable to get things turned around quickly, but Schneider and Carroll are not under any such timetable. They can afford to do this correctly and right. I missed a couple of super chats. I'm really sorry about that, folks. I've been a little late. I got on my trek of mind here. Randall with a $2 donation. Randall McDaniel, good to see you, man. Hope all your lawnmower went well today. Says, take Sam Williams. Can't have too much pass rush. If we end up with Sam Williams out of this draft, Randall, I would be very excited by that prospect. I'm going to be a Sam Williams hype man if we end out with him. He is really, really a good player to watch, as a fun tape to watch as far as pass rusher. One of the funner pass rushers for me to watch in this draft that I've gone through and looked through. I understand he's not as on that high end of things as the other guys, but he's not far off. He's not far off. And I'll tell you this too, Randall, if he ends up having his name called in round one by some team at the back end of the first round, like a Chiefs, would not shock me in the least. Randall also with a $5 donation says, can Corral's mechanics be adjusted with coaching? Rodgers famously changed his mechanics in the pros. Certainly, mechanics can be changed. And thank you for the donations. It has happened. It has occurred. And Rodgers is obviously the poster boy for this, because he looked like a robot throwing the ball at California, and it completely changed to, he throws it like, with all this kind of flair now in the pros that was not there at the college level. Things can get cleaned up. I do go back to, in my mind at times, though, with like Johnny Manziel's funky delivery coming out, or, of course, the famous one, Randall, being Tim Tebow, right? Tim with his whoop, whoop, Tim was the baseball background, so what I was talking about on that other end of it, like you'd have your two ends of the scale on delivery are Tim Tebow at this end and then Matt Corral at this end, as far as speed of delivery goes. And that was with Tebow, he needed to do all of that wind up to adjust through, and he couldn't shorten the delivery. I would reckon that it's probably easier to elongate the delivery than it is to shorten the delivery. So that would maybe work in Corral's favor versus Tebow, who we saw could not shorten his delivery. It was always going to go back. But I think you can only adjust it to such a degree, being that we only know of Rodgers being the only guy I can think of who really changed it, first what it was in college to what it was in the pros. But he does have that sort of snappy velocity, in short that Rodgers has. If there's maybe a comparison to find, I'm trying to find the optimism in there, Randall, if that is the case, because certainly Corral is a legit option for our Seahawks at this point. But I just haven't seen it often. Outside of Aaron Rodgers, I'm trying to think of another guy that I can think of that was, that you could go, man, he really changed what he was doing in college and how he threw it there to what I'm seeing in the pros. There probably has been some guys. I'm sure the chat will have a few ideas on some guys, but I can't think of anybody outside Aaron. Chase Stern with a big fat $20 donation. Thank you, Chase Stern. I appreciate you, my guy. I salute you, sir. Says, did you see the report that Seattle likes Penning in the first? I'm okay with it if we trade down. But if we take him at 9, I won't like it. Yes, I did see the report that they are interested in him. I do share your feelings on this, that 9 is too high for Trevor. Small school guy who's getting hyped he's kind of a, it's like fake tough guy type of stuff at times for me. When you go to those senior Pro Bowls like he did, everybody shows you this cut up of him throwing guys around and after the play's over, driving their head into the turf or throwing pass rushers into the quarterback's feet, including Desmond Ritter's. But that stuff doesn't get me as hyped up. What did you do on tape? He didn't dominate as much as I wanted to see him dominate on his college tape, going versus the lesser competition like he was. If you trade back, you're in the 20s and you're taking him okay, but number 9 for him is just way too high in my opinion. Way too high at that point. He's vaulted, and again, I can't help but wonder at that point if not the tough guy stuff factored in at that point, in them making that choice where, oh, he'll be a mauler up there. I will say with him again, though, I have relatively good confidence that even if he does wash out at tackle and doesn't make it there, that he could be a guard. He could be a left guard. And as much as that's not going to get a lot of people hyped up at the number 9 overall pick, end up getting a left guard, that has been one of those positions that's been hard for us to find since Steve Hutchinson left. So it wouldn't be something to get people hyped, but at least you know you're getting that as the fallback safety position of that pick. But I have heard that, Chase, and thank you for the $20 donation. But I'm okay with it. If we trade down like you are, if we trade down with it, I'm okay with it. Pick it at 9. That's going to be a little tough to deal with. Oliver Yates, cheers, nice to be here from UK and going Cyprus tomorrow to join my mate for the draft. Oh, hell yeah, Oliver. Nice. I hear Cyprus is a beautiful place to go visit. So nice. You guys will be checking out the draft on that. All right. Well, hopefully see you in the chat, man. You can talk to me about all the nice, cool drinks you're drinking with some beautiful view of the ocean. Jerry Johnson, Jeffrey says I'll eat a crow buffet otherwise if they don't shock us. Well, you're putting on smart money with that one, Jeffrey. I don't think there's going to be a lot of crow feathers in your future. YDY says, you say players like Corral and Bryce are too small. Ritter is lighter, 211, 208 at Senior Bowl, and only 1 3/8 inch taller than Corral. Yeah, some of it has to do with the fact that I think Ritter can grow more into his frame versus Corral that I think gets kind of topped out at the size he is. As well as let's remember when you have guys YDY that go to the combine or their pro days and they get weighted at that time and they've got concerns about, let's say, their size or their weight, they're going to go out and make sure that in their training that they've got built at the head of their training adding extra LBs. When I saw Coral last year, watch the tape on Coral, he looks like he's 195 pounds on the field. I don't think he plays at the same, I guess I'm saying why is I don't buy that he plays at the same weight that he measured in at the combine. I also don't buy in that on his 6'1.5" frame or whatever it is, that he's going to be able to add that much more weight on top of it. And if he does, he's not going to be very mobile at all at that point. So now you have an undersized guy who's also not very mobile. But again, with Corral, I think that there's more potential because he's got the bit bigger build to be able to sustain a little bit more weight. As well as I got to see Corral run and take punishment at the next level at times because he was a highly running quarterback. Whereas with Corral, when he's running around, some of this, let me just give you a back end on this. Some of this, again, comes with Corral. Watch Corral get hit in the open field. He goes out and gets scrambled. Watch a defender hit him. The defender hits him and he goes flying. Like, I know it sounds like I overstate it when I say it. See, it looks like somebody it's like the defender a half a second before he hits him is slapping C4 to the top of his jersey and then hitting the ignition button. I'm not overstating that. When I go and watch Ritter's tape, I don't see that. I see the times that he's able to maintain through contact. He's not getting obliterated by tackles right and left like I see from Corral. I'm a hip-hop rapper. Seahawks are going to lose no matter what they are playing. Well, we'll see on that. We'll just have to agree to disagree on that one. U2K says Lockett is the best number 2 slot receiver on some teams. He'd be a number 3. He's great, but not explosive. What's the value of an old number 2 wide receiver? A 3rd-round pick tops? Yeah, that's probably all he would garner at this point. I will say he's more than the slot. He's done a lot of his damage on the outside, Huey. And again, I mentioned a stat. I've mentioned a stat throughout this offseason of DK Metcalf being the second most double-teamed wide receiver in the entire sport last year. Well, Tyler Lockett was into the 20% range his own self. So teams around the league doubled Tyler at quite a high rate. Which again, if you're being doubled and you're just a slot, I'm not disagreeing with your respect. He's not a number 1 or to me, but to me is solid number 2. And I do think he's an outside guy that can do some inside stuff. He'll probably be more of an inside guy as he's going forward. But at the end of the day, too, I agree with you that he's really not a fit for this offense. Nagasa, can we draft Willis and Strong both? We could just put the legs of Willis on Strong. There's your first round quarterback. There's your top 10 quarterback right there. Mark Habercorn, Brendan wanted to draft a kicker in the 7th. What are your thoughts? Hit a like and sub button, folks. Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. Yeah, do please hit the like button if you are liking what you're hearing right now. It does help me out a lot. I do appreciate it, and it does help this channel grow. We're going to try to see if we can round the mark of 7,000 subs here over this next week on the draft. So please do. Sub up. Sub. Yeah, I'm okay with kicker. What we got? I like the Dickerson thing, right? There's some kid named Dicker in this draft, and I'd like to have Dicker and Dickerson as my kicking crew. We just got to get a poster put up stat on that one if we do that. But I like the thought process of drafting a kicker. You saw the benefit of this with Dixon. You went out and got the best punter in that particular draft, bar none. The benefits of that have been you've had 2 guys that have made a Pro Bowl in the last 4 drafts. One's been, I think, DK, and the others, or they've been good, great players. Dixon's the other guy. So it's definitely paid off in that way. I like it. You get a good kicker. You got 3 years of cheap production from the kicking position, which is very nice to have versus, let's say, paying $4 million a year like we are for Jason Myers. So I'd be in favor of it. Hip-hop rapper, we don't know who our first game is going to be as of yet because they haven't released the schedule. Schedule release will be on May 12th this year. Jordan Kraft says you underestimate the power of Matt Corral. I very well may. There's always a couple guys in a given draft that I just can't quite figure out. And this one just happens to be that one for me. What I see with Corral got to the point I could call the quality of the pass by his form is inconsistent passing form. When he has the good technique with the wide base, he throws deep on the money. I just thought him, to me, when watching the tape on it, I saw him guessing more. I saw a lot of he hits his back throw on a deep throw, and he's just deciding to throw to a spot versus measuring up where the receiver is on his route and where he's going. He's like, I'm going to put this down there, around over there. And it stood out to me. There's a lot of misses. If you get a chance, watch Samuel Gold, who did a breakdown on Matt Corral, and he talked specifically about this point and showed all 22 tape of throws that I'm talking about, where you see him going deep down the throw and he'll miss by 5, 6, 7, 8 yards on a throw where he's not even close, not even in the vicinity. And maybe it's bad mechanics, but to me, I look at it as a little bit more. I look at a little bit of as a lack of anticipation on those deep throws, a lack of a feel for those deep throws. Doesn't mean that he can't still be okay as a quarterback, but I do think that's going to continue to be I don't think he's going to get good at it coming to the pros. John says, why would you want to change Matt Corral's mechanics? He has a super fast release. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily want to at this point. I think it's hard overall to change. Like I was talking about Randall too above there. I think being that you have so few and far between guys that have been able to change their release and do it effectively, it's like you probably just want to accept it for what it is when it walks in the door. If he's a guy with a sidearm delivery, if he's a submariner, well, you're probably just going to have to deal with it for what it is. But you can clean up certain. I think he's speaking about why do I, John. I think he's speaking more to the cleaning up of base mechanics that you'd want from the quarterback, like he mentioned in his base, getting your feet clean. That type of thing. But that's also a little bit of an indicator why you're seeing the mechanics off on his base at that point. You'll notice he does a lot of crow hop stepping on the deep stuff too. And I think that that's indicative of the fact the reason the mechanics go out of base, like go out on a football field and you throw a ball 15 yards and your mechanics will look good and great, right? And then somebody goes, okay, now throw it deep. And now you're just thinking at the forefront of your mind, get that ball to that spot, get that ball there. And it's taking him basically flailing out with all of his inconsistencies on it to try to get that ball to that spot. Jesse Lund, good day. How you doing, man? Oh, it was John. You were saying the base thing. Yeah, you can adjust the base. But I don't know, man. I think he does the base the way he does it because I think he's trying to load up. HB, is anyone else worried about both of Jamal's shoulders being operated on now, or is it just me? No, it's a concern. There is a absolute reality here where Jamal Adams is maybe wearing down as a football player. It happens. It sucks if it's the case, but it does happen to players. And certainly maybe those shoulders are starting to give way. Certainly the fingers have been a problem. It may be the way this is going. We are stuck with him for one more year, really, unless we want to do some post-June 1st, some sort of post-June 1st situation with him. But I would anticipate that he's here for at least one more year. And if that is the case, that he is broken down, then he would be gone after this year at a fairly low cap hit to the Seahawks. John says, let's all be real for a minute and think what overreaches the Seahawks will make after they trade back. Sam Williams at 15 sounds about right. That would be an overreach. Mine was Nick Bonito at 9. That was mine, like, dear God, one. Yeah. How about would be another guy that they would go for in the past history in like 15. They would do like a probably defense. I could see him going Travis Jones higher, falling in love with him. You mentioned a good one. I can't think of another one, though. Maybe find another third rounder. Josh Pascal in the first rounder. Drake Jackson. That'd be another one that I could see him doing. Absolutely could see it. I could see it, John. Jacob Kessinger has been a member for 5 months. Thank you, Jacob. I appreciate you, my guy. This is Brando. Been a while. Been planning a wedding. Go Hawks. Well, congratulations, Jacob. That's awesome to hear, my guy. Hopefully gonna be a lovely wedding for you and yours on that. So big time congrats, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for 5 months of membership on the Hawks Nest. I'm going to be releasing to you. Keep an eye out, Jacob. Tonight, actually, I think I'm going to try to get it out. I'm going to be posting my draft guide. I'm just basically player breakdowns and whatnot of the team. But it's about 30,000 words worth of data there. But I'll be posting it out on my community board to the members of the channel there. So keep an eye out for that. Paydirt Sports Card with a $2 donation. Thank you, Paydirt. Says Bailey Zapp at 9, laughing out loud. He's like I call him a pudgy Case Keenum. He's a roly-poly Case Keenum, man. I can see it. Jacob Kessinger with a $5 donation. Thanks, Paydirt. Says, been a while since I've checked, so consensus on how we're going to mess up this draft. Well, John and us, we're walking through it right now, Paydirt. We're with the T on this one, Jacob. We got, we're going through a few of the scenarios. It's going to be hard if they just stand pat at number 9 to grab somebody way too outside the box. Like if they were at 19, they could do it. At number 9, it gets a little bit hard there. There's just too many guys that are far and away too good of players there to screw the pooch. Backed up by the fact that when they have picked in the top 15 in the past, the 3 times they've done so in this regime's history, they've hit those out of the park. But yeah, Jacob, we're hoping for the best on this one. We're going to be optimistic for the moment, but we certainly are prepared for the worst. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Easy Money says Ritter is much better than Coral Reefs. Thank you, Easy Money. I'm with you on that. Yui says, I love Huskies. They're hardworking dogs that know their place at the end of the leash. They're throwing some Husky hate. Well, Husky hate. Nate, would you have traded Russ to the Bears last year and got Fields? No. But part of this, Nate, comes from my philosophy of wanting to first build up the team, build up the offensive line in front of their young quarterback before getting the young quarterback. I wouldn't have. I also think that we're going to end up getting better. I believe, I could be wrong on this, but I think the value will end up being better in what we got as a whole from the Broncos than what the Bears were offering us last year. We'll see, because the Bears still aren't good. But I do think it's also different. Russ on the Bears might have been different than what Field shows you on the Bears. But nope. I wouldn't have. Oliver Yates says Ritter or wait till next year. Let's wait till next year, Oliver. We've got bigger fish to fry. We got other things to take care of. Like I said, we need to get this offensive line taken care of first to protect your young quarterback. There's been young quarterbacks in the last couple of years that have come out on their rookie deals, only a year or two in the league, and had really marvelous years, like Carson Wentz did with the Eagles. Carson Wentz hasn't been the same quarterback since he didn't have that offensive line like he had with the Eagles when he was there. People don't talk about it a lot, but it was on point. Jason Peters and Kelsey and Brandon Brooks and who was the other guy they had on Johnson on the right side? Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott with the Dallas Cowboys. You can find example after example after example. So get the line dealt with first and then go get the quarterback. Joe Strew says, do you see Kyler Gordon as a fit in Seattle? If available in the second round, what do you think of picking him up? Historically speaking, they haven't tended to gravitate towards guys that have sub 32-inch arms to play outside cornerback for them. That's just the way they've tended to go. They made an exception to this rule last year with Trey Brown, so they very well now may be starting to open this door up because of DJ Reed's ascent here in Seattle. Reed being the guy that sort of started to break that old-minded thinking and approach that they had to the position, being you had to be 6 feet tall and you had to have 32-inch long arms. Kyler is got the 6 foot size. I think it's only like 30. I think it's like 30.5 or something inch arms. I forget, something in that realm. So it's not horrific. It isn't quite as bad as, like, let's say even Trent McDuffie. But he would make sense. He's got zone familiarity. He understands how to do all that stuff that they're going to want to have him do with essentially cover 3 stuff in there. Tackling isn't as good as McDuffie's tackling, in my opinion. Little hit or miss there. I do also hear that he is well liked in NFL circles, and there is a lot of talk Kyler Murray is going to go at the back end of the first round. He will be in my final mock in the back end of the first round, just based on I'm hearing so much about him being valued there. Whitey White says Corral can throw with timing, anticipation, and power better than any quarterback in this class. The reason Corral did the hero ball is because of scheme. I don't see him doing that out of an RPO scheme. He ran an RPO scheme. It was RPO. That's what he was running, was RPO. I don't know what you mean. I don't see him doing that out of an RPO scheme. He ran RPO. Whitey White, that's not even in contention. He literally ran an RPO offense. Type Matt Corral RPO into a search engine, and you'll get 15 pages of discussion on the topic. Easy money. Does Matt Corral remind you of Johnny Manziel? Yeah. My draft guide, I called him. Let me get my wording right on this. So I called Matt Corral, my draft guide, a slower, more accurate Johnny Manziel with better velocity. That's my player comp. John, the truth is nobody knows who the hell the Seahawks are going to draft or what position they will pick at 9. We are probably all going to go, who? Certainly is possible. Yui, Seahawks should have taken the Bears' offer last year. Would have been a much better place. Maybe. Certainly, if they weren't going all in, Yui, on last year's team like they didn't, I think you certainly probably would have been smart to do that at that point, knowing what we know in retrospect. John, if the Seahawks come away from this draft building up in the trenches, I will be super happy. Me too, John. That's the thing I've been asking for years. I would love to see it. Jordan Crofts is not going to lie. I wouldn't mind getting Boy Mafe. I wouldn't either, Jordan. Certainly don't think the top 10 is a little high for him, for me. But if you're into the even maybe late teens, we can maybe start to talk about it. I think 20s would be more optimal if you're really dead set on him. Second would be like chef's kiss. Jack Shaw says Penning is the most overhyped offensive line prospect. I agree, Jack. I agree. He's one that just, again, there's guys that'll come out that'll just sort of like teams love attitude. These old school teams with their NFL approach on stuff. It's like, he's got that dog mentality. He's got that. And it's like, yeah, but has he got technique? Is he can he keep his feet? Is he got, is he any good? Why says Corral does not need to change his passing form. It is beautiful as it is. Just needs to get more consistent with his form. Watch his feet. When he has a wide base with no heel clicking, he is fantastic. We're talking about anything in 15 yards. I'm right with you on it. So anything inside of 15 yards on the throw, yeah, 100%. Joe Strew, Linderbaum's better than Penning. Better believe it. He says, what what that offer was, it was just the Bears' opening offer. They were desperate to save their jobs, and Seahawks could have gotten a better deal than the one they got from Denver. Just another bad decision. It's possible. They probably didn't do a lot. To your point, I agree. I don't think they did a lot of negotiating. Jack, I think I'd lean towards probably liking Raymond better. I just haven't seen enough tape on Raymond, I can't find enough tape on Raymond. Jason Tudor, what's your take on Carson Strong? Watched some footage last night. Dude has a cannon and has great timing and placement. I'm intrigued. Very intrigued, Jason. What sold me on Carson Strong was the story of him going into last year's college season, and he had knee surgery. And the doctor told him that he should just sit out that year of college football, let the leg heal up fully, and then come back at next year. And he wanted to play. And he said, well, if I play, is it going to cause any permanent damage off what's already been done? And the doctor's like, well, I mean, no, but you're not going to have the strength in your knee. You're not going to be able to plant and drive like you normally would. And he went out there and gutted it through. And so what initially bothered me, Jason, in watching some of his tape was that you could see the knee almost quaking at times on throws, and you go, oh my God, is the knee just done? Is it the bone on bone, like, just done? But supposedly the surgery just takes a year to get fully back from, and that the strength's supposed to come back to the knee. What you said about the cannon, great timing, placement. I saw the very same thing on the tape that I watched, and as good as you'll find in this class in certain respects. So he's a legitimate talent, a talent you'd be able to legitimately, that you'd be getting then in the third round, which would be a very high for maybe some of the potential that he does indeed have. Kind of to me like to me a little bit, I use it a lot, but a little bit of the Kirk Cousins kind of top end of his game a bit. But I do like Carson. Yeah, very intrigued. Jeffrey Nicholson says Matt Corral exaggerates when he gets hit in the backfield. He makes a simple tackle look like a car wreck. It just stands out to me, man. It's part of my assessment on him being slight is he gets hit, and it's just like I expect the shoulder pads to go blasting apart. I expect the mouthpiece to go spinning off into a direction. I don't know why. But it stands out to me watching it over and over with him. Has a lot of fumbles too from it, where guys hit him and he's so devastated by the hit that the ball comes fumbling out, not because the guy's stripping it, just by the collision impact. YDY says, did you see Corral at his pro day? He looked thick looking at 215 at least. He did, but again, I think on the pro days, YDY, when you have a slight quarterback, you're there, and teams know they're slight and have questions about their slight nature. What are you going to do? You're going to go out there and you're going to eat a bunch of hamburgers leading up to the combine. You're going to get yourself, if I need to add 10 pounds of water weight, I can do so, right? Like if I have a dead set in my mind to gain weight over a 2-month period because I have questions about that aspect of it, I can do that. The question is not whether or not a guy can beef himself up to a certain amount of weight to make everybody go, okay, he's got enough weight. The question is, what is truly his playing weight? And when I go out there and see Corral play on the football field, it's slight. He's got thin little paper arms, little slight build, little tiny ankles. And somebody mentioned Johnny Manziel. It's kind of like that Johnny Manziel build, where it's like it just not put together like you would hope for a guy that is going to have to sustain contact, is going to have 300-pound linemen landing on him. Hawks fan says, would you pick Kyle Hamilton at 9 if he was the best player available? I would. I've got him very high up on my board as far as just from a player rating standpoint and where I put him on my, he'd probably be like 3 or 4 on my board as far as overall players in this draft. I love Hamilton's tape. I'm also not super sold on the fact that we're going to have Jamal Adams here long term. So while it would be a little more of a pick for the future, I do think that he's as good as he is. And I'm a guy driven at this point when I look at my draft by picking the best player available. And if it's this position that I'm already kind of somewhat set at, whatever. We need talent. We need a lot of talent. HB says, how much of Russ's success was because of Pete's confidence building on and off the field? And how much of it was Russ's own doing? Oh, I think Coach Carroll told you a lot about this in a press conference this year when he talked about this. He said, I've been here for a very long time as the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. And if Russell Wilson wasn't here, I wouldn't have been here for as long. Those are pretty stark words coming from the mouth of the man himself. So just taking off of what he said, certainly Russ has a big part of it in his own doing within this, a monstrous part of it. But I think this is a scenario where it's very hard to take a black and white draw and say it's all to this guy or it's all to that guy or it's mainly on this guy or it's mainly on that guy. I think both of those guys fit together as their chemistry brought about the success it did. I think each of them was integral to the other and getting them to that place. And we'll look at it like that in retrospect when we really see what they were able to do together. But it's both. Not to try to give you a little bit of a fence-sitting answer on that one, HB, but I think it's both. It's the positive environment. It's the open environment. It's allowing for Russ to take the job in the first place despite the resources they put in, and then in the guiding of Russ in his game to build to Russ's strengths. Russ likes to think about being this high-volume thrower in some passing attack where he can be like Mahomes or Brady. It's really not his game. His game was to play, in my opinion, more of a power rush running style offense that then asked him to take the occasional deep shot. And that was a testament to Carroll's scheme and how he drove him in that way. We'll see. We'll see if the Broncos can get him into that high volume state and he can be that guy. It'll be interesting. That's just kind of my read on it. I'm going to get a little more coffee, folks. Bear with me. Do 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 do. Boom do. John says if I was big, I'd throw around small guys too at tackle. Penny can throw around small guys and can't big guys. How is that fake? It's called physics. Well, I saw Senior Bowl tape, John, where he was pushing. Here's it again. It's the Senior Bowl stuff as much as anything for me, John, not the college tape. And at the Senior Bowl, you have a lot of prospects out there that have not yet earned their millions of dollars. They've not made any money, really. Maybe the NIL, they've made some money, who knows. But you have guys where their season has completed. They're prepping for their draft process. They're going to the Senior Bowl week to try to show off their skill set as much as they can. But there's also a little bit of an unwritten part of that process of we're also kind of protecting each other, like our guys do on a practice field, right? Seahawks talk a lot about this of make sure you're protecting each other out there. You know, you're not out there to get each other injured because you could be costing a guy millions of dollars if you're doing something that's stupid. So, you know, John, he twice during Senior Bowl week threw a guy at the quarterback's knees. Go watch the cut up of him throwing a guy at Desmond Ritter's legs and nearly getting Ritter's ACL torn. Other guys weren't doing that. There were other cut ups of him jamming a guy's head into the turf way far after post play, going further after the play was long dead and over with and continuing to drive beyond it. And he was trying to show off. He was trying to make himself look better during that week to the scouts. And I don't mind a guy playing with an edge, especially the offensive line position. But that's not going to wow me as much when you're pulling that type of stuff, especially understanding the guy across from you, though he's trying to beat you, also has a little bit of those words running through the back of his mind that they've been told by the coaches leading up to those practices, which is protect the other guy across from you. Everybody's trying to earn their money here. Don't have a guy potentially tear up his knee because you're doing something stupid and foolish. Jacob Kessinger, how far am I back on the chat? I'm not too far behind. I'm pretty good on it. I think I'm pretty close on it. John Robinson says, I bet you Penning will be a top 10 tackle in his career. We'll see, man. We'll see. Jason Tudor says, Dicker the kicker. I grab him in every mock draft. Dicker the kicker. Why do I? Ritter, 4.9 yards per carry, 0.08 missed tackles, forced per carry. Wasn't even comparable to Howell or Carroll when it came to consistently picking up yards. I'm not paying the quarterback to run with the ball and paying him to throw the ball. So 0.0 missed tackles. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I watched the tape and Ritter was really good as a runner. So I don't know. As well as Corral is not fast. So he doesn't have Ritter's same speed. So both with Howell and Corral, the one thing you have to consider with this is that those guys are not going to be able to get away at the rushing that they got away at the college level. They don't have the speed to do it. Ritter's at least got the speed that goes surpassed to where those guys are at. And remember, too, why? There's the pairing up, obviously, of stats have a place and a purpose here, but you always, as much as you can, try to pair up what you see with stats and what you see with game film. I watched the game film on Ritter. I saw him using his legs, using it as a threat, getting by guys. Certainly with Howell and Corral, they use their legs as well, and they use their legs effectively. Howell is like Tim Tebow type, scrambling around with the ball. But in both Howell and Corral's cases, they're not particularly fast guys. And if you're going to have a guy at the end, we're not talking about the college level, where at the college level you can not necessarily be a particularly fast guy and still be a decent scrambling quarterback. I don't think you can do that at the NFL level. I don't know if you can be a quarterback that's slow and just fall back on your juking moves to get you past the line of scrimmage. John says, if Penning is 90% of what Whitworth is, isn't that a success at 15 or 16? Sure. Yeah. John says Penning can't play left tackle. Why? Because YouTubers say so. Penning ran a 4.89 and fleet of foot enough and long enough to play left tackle. I think it's a little bit of worry on the technique. He might be able to, John. I was merely saying that if he doesn't get the left tackle, if he doesn't get right tackle, you always do have a fallback of left guard. That's not to say that he can't play. We'll see. Jason Tudor says Ritter's footwork is bad. JT O'Sullivan thinks it could be fixed by better coaching. I do think footwork is one of those skills of a quarterback that can be worked on. We talked about delivery in the show here where it's hard to fix a delivery. I think you can fix feet. You can fix base. Delivery is probably a little bit tougher. As King Bomber says, Ritter is one of the few quarterbacks that has issues that can be solved. Jordan Kraft, Best Hawks channel on YouTube. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate you, Jordan. Very kind of you to say. King Bomber says Pickett's hands are a risk. The other quarterbacks have other issues that are more difficult to fix than Ritter's. Yeah, well said, man. You're not going to get Pickett's hands any bigger. You're not going to get Matt Corral any bigger. Sam L's got some decent potential, but again, he's not going to get any taller than 6'1". Malik Willis, some similar things there from delivery to size. Yeah, well said. Chef Russ Tuclash says Joe Burrow has small hands. He's doing okay making a Super Bowl after being killed the season prior. Very true. Very true. Easy Money, what quarterbacks visited for top 30 visits? Easy Money, we only had Desmond Ridder as the only guy that visited. Nate HawksNest, who's a good backup running back in case Carson doesn't make it back? Who do you hope to draft to help Penny? And who's a good safety to grab to help Neal if Adams is injury prone? Well, don't forget, Nate, you still do have Marquise Blair on the roster in addition to Neal as your two backups to the safety position as it stands right now. But as far as running backs go, I'll probably would take off the top guys at the top end because they probably aren't going to pick that high. Let me give you a couple of guys who could be interesting. Dameon Pierce out of Florida. Didn't run the fastest 40 time on his pro day, but he runs like a Seahawk running back. He runs like your Marshawn Lynch or your Thomas Rawls or your Chris Carson types. Or you could have maybe just Chris Carson, the clone. That's what I've called Hassan Haskins. I think that him out of Michigan is exactly like Chris Carson in build and running style. Even their gait, the way that they run is similar. Just a grinder, not a creative runner, but a guy that's going to go right through the hole that you tell him to go through. If you're going to lose Carson, you want that thunder to your lightning. And Rashad Penny, there's some thunder for you. There's definitely some other guys even more deeper into this draft, from Abram Smith, Devontae Price. Rashad White is wonderful out of Arizona State. A lot of running backs into maybe that third, fourth, fifth round range of things that would also be very exciting in addition to that. So if they come away with any of those guys, I'd be pretty happy with them. There's some good backs in this draft, some exciting backs. They got some unique skill sets too. Why do I says with Adams, I always remember Bob Sanders. That's how he went. Yeah, great reference there. That's definitely what ended up getting Bob Sanders, who was the guy that was really the most important part of the Colts defense that eventually got them to a title. He was that keynote member as a safety on that team. But yeah, a lot like Adams, he had a sort of lay it all on the line type playing style. Shoulder got messed up, couldn't get it right. Shoulder is one of those things that if it gets messed up in just a certain set of way, it seems like it can stay messed up. And it's going to be something to monitor with Adams as we go forward. Sam Z says, we don't really need Adams for the run. No, we don't necessarily need it. And again, understanding you can get out from under his deal and within a year from now. We all have acknowledged that we don't think that this is likely. We're competing this next year. So there's a little bit of what plays out with Adams is what plays out with Adams. You can cry about the lost draft capital and all that, but there comes a point we got to move past and move on. Well, he gets a chance this year to see if he can do something. I'm sure if we get another year of what we've had recently from him, they're going to call it a day and move on after this season. Absolutely, they probably will. But he's also not necessarily a vital member of the plans moving into 2 to 3 years from now when we'll truly be trying to compete. Jeffrey Nicholson, thank you for becoming a member, man. Appreciate you. Chef Russ Duclash says 100% Bomber. I think, responding to Bomber. John Robinson says, who's our quarterback coach anyway? The mechanics things are easy fixes. As long as our quarterback is toolsy, I'm cool with it. Me too, man. Me too. Who is it? I'm blanking on the name right now, John. I'm totally blanking on the name. I don't know how good he is. I'll say that. He's a guy. I don't know how good he is. Delikey says, I saw some idiot YouTuber houses picking Carson Strong at 9. Yeah, that would be insane. That would be, even for John Schneider and Carroll, that'd be insane. Sam Z says Waldron's about to take Beach's job. John Robinson says Carson Strong looked horrible to me. I didn't see horrible. I mean, he makes some really nice throws. John says even before the knee. Obi-Wan, Jamal needs to stop doing these side shoulder hit sticks. It's fun to watch, but at this point, just do a basic tackle. Wouldn't be surprised if his tackling form is a major contributor to his injuries. Could be. I mean, some of it, Obi-Wan, is that's how usually safeties are going to have to tackle if they're built like typical safeties. You know, I mean, a guy like Cam Chancellor at 6'3" could go up a little bit higher and lay the thump up there and use a little more of I'm going to wrap you up. If you're a smaller 5'11 and a half type guy, 6 foot guy, you know, maybe it's a little bit tougher to get in there and wrap up like that. You got to come up with just more of a force kind of situation. We'll see. I think the shoulders are where they are, and I think that they're going to have to deal with it where we go forward. I don't know if they're going to get any better. It's part of why I'm a little bit pessimistic on Jamal moving into the future is I don't know how you fix chronically bad shoulders going back to high school that have been beaten up. Chef Russ Duclash says, bro, if Stingley or Sauce is there, Pete and John are high-fiving for their 2011 versus V2 team build. Oh, they would be. Like I said, that's a Chef Russ Duclash. Those are probably both players they run to the podium for. Jack Shaw says, I really like Benito, but yeah, 9 would be a reach. I do too, Jack. So don't get me wrong, I do like Nick, and he has the pressure rate on him is I mean, what was like 29% or something is his pass rush win rate. He's just a guy that draws an equivalency to me of like Bruce Irvin, where you're bringing in a guy that great pass rusher, really productive in that realm, but a guy everybody else is pushing in like late second, third round kind of range that you're taking in the first. Why do I says, I just hope they don't draft a quarterback in the first, no matter what the quarterback. Me neither, man. 100% agree. Tony Wright says best quarterbacks in the 2022 draft is Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Carson Strong, Bailey Zapp, Malik Willis. Oh my God, Tony. Tony is out on, Tony's even more out on Corral than me. I'll at least put Corral over Bailey. Tony's going hard. Going hard. Chef Russ Duclutch says Jamal will thrive. I trust in the new scheme with Jamal holding up after time to heal. If he gets hurt again, we're really going to feel our first round curse. Yeah, we will. It would suck to see it again. And we'll see. He's going to get a chance. And to your point, they're going to try and build this scheme around him and his skill set and what he does great. So, he's going to have no excuses after this point. They're going to be running a lot of this stuff he was doing with the Jets when he was an all-pro there. We'll see if we can get the most out of him at that point. John Robinson says, I love Cole Kelly for some reason. He just seems like a poor man's Josh Allen. What do you think of him? I have not looked at Cole Kelly, man. So I'm sorry I have not taken a look at him as of yet. I'll check him out, though. I'll check him out for sure. Add him to my list here. Let me add him. Cool Kelly. He's got a good Irish name to him. Good Irish name. It's Cole Kelly. Throws the ball far. He's got a house. He's got a house. Bestowed to him by the leprechauns. He stole the gold. They said, give us back our gold, and we'll give you an arm. And Cole Kelly said, you'll give me that arm, but I'll keep the gold. I'll keep you gold. Why do I? The fact we can so pick apart any of these quarterbacks, Ridder, Corral, Willis, just goes back to confirming picking a quarterback in this draft is a bad idea. Well said. That's why I've come back again and again. I said I don't want to do quarterback here. It's driven by need. It's not being driven by you really loving the guy you're picking, which if you're going to take your quarterback and be married to a guy for the next 3 or 4 years of his development to hopefully get the guy that's that dude, do you want to do the initial moment that you're picking him going, well, I like him, but there's this. Well, he's great, but there's that. Or do you want a guy who's like, he checks this box and this box and that box and that box? You're not going to get the perfect prospect by no measure, but you also don't want to talk yourself into it. You also don't want to be taking a prospect with beer goggles on, do you? Because at some point or another, you're going to wake up tomorrow morning and she's not a 10. You know what I mean? John says, I think we might sign DK right after the draft because they are focusing on the draft solely. I noticed John Schneider mentioned something about viewing tape for the first time 2 weeks ago. Really? Why hasn't he been immersed the whole offseason? That's odd to hear, John, if that's the case. Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, I agree with you on the DK thing. It's a lot of times these rookie guys that are waiting on their contract extension usually have to wait through the full offseason before they get the contract extension. And this is one thing that people fired on with Kyler Murray was, hey, Kyler, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, who did get paid after 3 years in the league, had to wait into like June, July to get paid after the draft. Why are you having to, why are you determining right now this has to happen right now? So it definitely makes a lot of sense that that's what they're choosing to do with DK, John, especially with DK being as quiet and happy as he has seemed to be throughout this whole offseason as his contemporaries like Deebo Samuel or A.J. Brown have had a little bit of kerfuffle with their teams as far as what's going on with them. So I think that there's probably something to that. HB says, name your offensive and defensive captains now that both are gone. I got DK and Diggs. I mean, man, yeah. Your offense is so young there at that point. You kind of got to go that route, don't you? Don't see a lot of receivers as captains. Diggs is certainly my defensive one, HB. So Diggs or Jordan Brooks, one of the two. I mean, Tyler, I guess, maybe, but DK makes sense. DK's got that. I think he wants to take on that leadership mantle. So we'll go DK. Sam Z says Shelby should be a captain. It's hard being a first just first arriving on a team and getting to that status, but maybe. John Robinson says, is the quarterback Richardson from Florida an NFL quarterback? I have not watched Richardson, man. Sorry. So much of what I do, John, with it is I just stay with the top end guys. Like if I stayed the first 4 or 5 rounds, because you can get up into watching 400 guys in a draft, and then you only watch like a barely smidgen of them. And I kind of made the choice of this. I'd rather watch 250 guys that I'm able to watch all of them a couple games worth of tape. He means out of an RPO, meaning not in an RPO scheme. Joe Struce has just liked and subscribed. Great show and love you. Love how you handled the comments, even the combative ones. Classy, bro. Well, thank you, Joe. They know, my folks know in here, I don't shy away from disagreement. I like disagreement in here, and I like different perspectives on it. So appreciate you becoming a subscriber to the channel, man, liking the show. But that's part of what makes us unique here is we're not ever trying to be an echo chamber in here. I do like having guys that have a different standpoint of things, We're passionate. We're very passionate here. John says, I could see Mackrell as a more athletic Jimmy G. Maybe. Some similarities to their game. I'm saying he will not run an RPO in the NFL, so won't do the hero ball. Oh, maybe. As we saw with Russell, that hero ball approach to things when you have it as a quarterback, or you see it in a Carson Wentz. If you've got that in you instilled, you kind of have it in you, whether you're running an RPO or any kind of offense. I think it is a little bit into it. He's not horrible in it. I wouldn't overstate that he's like horrible hero ball guy to a degree. I'm more worried when he gets to moving around too much, the impacts he takes, sustaining those impacts from an injury standpoint, but then holding on to the ball standpoint versus his effectiveness as a mover. Jason Tudor says, "Oh my God, Cat Tower, yes, hell yeah!" By high demand, by much requested, we've got the kitty in the tower. She's chilling over here. Let's see how she's doing. She's sleepy. She's sleepy. She wants me to let her on the deck. Why are we all pretending that Pete is not going to draft a quarterback in the second? We should all be prepared to see Hall at 40, 41, next mock, try to see what running backs are there. Well, all the mocks I ran, I was checking bottom point of why both Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker were there on all of the mocks we ran, I noticed. So you've kind of got your pick of the litter there, I think, at 40 and 41 still, I believe. John says, who's the best 2 and 1.5 gapping defenders in this draft that the Seahawks might covet? The best two gapping defender is going to be Josh Paschal. Your best one gapping defender, your best one gapping defender is like I would almost say like a Trayvon Walker, just because he can destroy things. But if you want to go for like interior, it's not like a lame. Devontae Wyatt would be your best gap and a halfer, John. And then your best two gapper is going to be, I think Josh Paschal is your best two gapper. Yeah. I feel good about that. I feel that's right. Flag Zap has asked, would I be mad if we drafted Hall in the second? And that'd be, of course, Hall out of Houston, I believe. Good pass rusher. No, he's a fun guy to watch on tape. He's got a really interesting build that's different from a lot of the edge rushers in this draft. Really a lot of size to his ability. He's a plan A guy without a plan B. There's some rough stuff to kind of iron out in his game. But his length, size, the weight to him. He's very unique in that quotient. Fun player to watch on tape. He's kind of a problem wherever, play in and play out. Pretty consistent in that realm of things. Logan's a good player. I don't know if I got star potential associated with him, Flag, where I see a guy that's going to get you 12, 13 sacks a year kind of guy, but a guy that could be a problem both in the run, pass, be consistent for you, kind of like a poor man's Marcus Davenport. John, do you think Brooks will perform better in man, and who's a good linebacker in the draft to pair with? John, I do think that Brooks is going to be better suited to a man scheme versus the zone scheme that he has struggled in. No doubt about it. Much better, in fact. He did really well in college, both junior, senior year that I watched of him, and I watched a lot of tape on Brooks at that time. When he was in man coverage, he held up really well. He can stay in the back pocket of tight ends. His speed really shows up in that element of things. It simplifies things for him. You want to get Jordan out of a position, John, where he's thinking. The less that Jordan Brooks thinks, the better. The more that he gets to come downhill or just straight cover a guy and stay with a guy. The simpler you make it for him, the better. There's a few guys that would pair up very nicely with Brooks in the inside in this draft, John. First and foremost, of course, is Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd would be beautiful. I've related his ability to spot drop in coverage and zone to a guy like Derek Brooks. He can do the man-based stuff as well, so he's got that both in his belt, so to speak. Troy Anderson out of Montana State, John, a guy just figuring out how to play the position, has got a lot of potential. He would be a guy that you could pair up, I think, with Jordan in the middle there. Leo Chanel, also like his coverage ability too, to the point where I thought if you needed to do him in a 4-3 with Leo, you could have him play some will stuff, will snaps. I think he's got that in his bag. Outside of that, Christian Harris, Damon Clark, could be other guys in there in that realm. I'm not as big on Quay Walker. Nakobe Dean's good, but he'll be gone by the point we're talking here, John, right? Like you're talking, I think Nakobe Dean goes in at the back end of the first, the top in the second, so I don't think that's really an option there. And maybe as another guy for you on this, Chad Muma, if we're talking a little bit later. If we don't want to go second round, we want to go a little bit more further back. Chad Muma would be another guy that you could pair with who does some really good things in coverage too. There's a lot of guys that as salt and pepper type combination where Brooks gets to be the hammer and good in man, and then you have a good zone drop guy who's also a good tackler. There's a few of those guys in this draft, John, that I've liked quite a bit. Whitey Wise says, now that I've annoyed Brando with my quarterback talk, laughing out loud, not at all, man. I'm all good with it. I don't mind disagreement, man. It's all good. And I like you guys making your case. I like you trying to sell me on it. I love it, man. That's what this channel is about. So this is good discussion. This is where we get to unpack this stuff and try to get to the meat, get to the bottom line. So nothing but love, man. What is the latest round Seattle should get a linebacker? Can't see waiting past 72 to get one. There are great linebackers in this draft. Yeah, kind of some of the guys I was mentioning with John there are guys that stand out to me. You look at into the fourth round area of things. Now you're to John Ross. Now you're to Darian Beavers. Now you're to Terrell Bernard, JoJo Doman, Chad Muma. I mean, that's if you wait till fourth round, those are the guys you're selecting from. Versus round 3. Brendan Smith, Brian Asamoah, Quay Walker, Channing Tindall, Nolan Smith, Nick Bonito. You have better options there. Bonito probably ends up going in the second. But to your point on that, if you wait too long on this, the drop-off is very stiff at the linebacker position outside of Tier 2. Tier 3 is, as far as I can tell with the linebacker position, is pretty empty right now. I'm not super stoked at what I'm seeing there. So if they want to make a priority of it, it makes sense. Tony Wright says, my Falcons are going to draft defensive end Boy Mafe with our second round draft pick at 43. If we draft Jordan Davis with our first round pick. Man, Tony, no wide receivers in the first 2 picks for Falcons, huh? No wide receivers? That is... And you've got an offensive-minded head coach. I'm sure he would love that. I'm sure Arthur Smith just finds that awesome. How to piss off your offensive head coach 101. I love both the picks, Tony, for your team. So your defense needs help. I get that those will be two good additions to the team. That's the right value for Mafi at 43 where you're talking about picking. So all makes sense there. But boy, I just look at the receiving core for the Falcons and I go, what's the plan here? What are we doing? Randall McDaniel with another $5 donation. Thank you, Randall, for the multiple donos on the channel. It says, take a look into your crystal ball a year from now. Where are we picking and who are we scouting, mocking to the Seahawks? State of the team after the 2022 draft. All right, let me get my crystal ball out here. I got to say say the words. Okay, here's what I see. It's cloudy, Randall. Hold on. Okay, the clouds are dissipating now. It's getting clearer. I see a folks, I see a 7-10 season from our Seahawks. We missed the playoffs, obviously. Okay, let me see more into it now here. Okay. Denver also didn't have a good season. I'm seeing that as well. Oh, goodness. Here it's getting weird now. Okay. Oh, Randall, I see us with 2 top 10 first-round picks in next year's draft. Ooh. Okay. I see us looking at having the ammunition to go and get our quarterback and trying to wrangle it free from one of those top-end teams in the draft. And there being a little bit of a war going on between what we're willing to offer to go get one of those guys. Because unfortunately, at the top end, Randall, we've got 3 teams that are needing quarterbacks who have worse records than us. Detroit, Houston, Atlanta. So we might not have our pick of the top 3 guys. And we're going to be talking a year from now about trying to make our peace, Randall, with QB number 4. QB 4. And hopefully he's good. Hopefully he's got something to him. But I think the state of the team is going to be one where they're looking at the defense coming along, and the defense is showing flashes of being of having some dominant elements to it. I think the offense at times is going to be a work in progress. There'll be times where they runs the ball really well. There'll be times where they can't seem to do much of anything offensively speaking. They will protect the football. They'll cause turnovers defensively wise. We'll feel very good about this defense, but we'll have big questions about the offense moving forward after this year because I think the offense will be a big driver as to us not having a winning record next year. So we're going to be really wringing our hands, Randall, about the fact that these other teams are up ahead of us and they're going to get the best of the quarterbacks and we're going to be stuck with QB4 and QB5. And I'm going to be doing a lot of references to the 84 draft with Marino where I'm like, well, technically Ken O'Brien was drafted ahead of Dan Marino, so that could happen again here. A lot of that type of talk, Randall. A lot of that type of talk. But that's where I see it. Pater Sports Car with a $2 donation. Thank you, Pater. It says Mariners just won 5-4 in extra innings. Oh, I'm going to be doing another Mariner video on my other Crow's Nest channel this week. It is awesome to watch them doing what they're doing, and it's everything of what we hoped they were going to be, where the young arms are coming and bringing it, the starting staff's holding together, the bullpen's still locked down, and the young hitters, they're taking a little bit of time. They're slowly keying up, slowly getting that burner going. But you're seeing the flashes of it. You're seeing the elements of it. And Ty France, man, he's had 2 in the last 2 days, 2 of the prettier swings on a ball you will ever see. I mean, you want to talk about barreling up a ball. I mean, he just some moonshots last couple of days. Just wonderful to see the Mariners coming along like they are. Wonderful to see. Got some Cat Tower love. Nice. John says Richardson's supposed to be a high-round draft quarterback next year. Now I remember hearing a little bit about him, John. I will look at him, so I'll be diving into those guys for sure. Megan says the Irish accent's awesome, B. I got to get it done. I've known a few Irishmen in my time. It's a good time. It's my people. I'm like 25%. 25% or so. 25 Irish, 35 French, 20% of God knows what. Flag says, yeah, Strong is definitely a thrower. Huck it, chuck it football. Yeah, he's got a little hose. He's got a baby hose on his hand. Chef Russ Duclass says, bro, I'm so excited for this draft. I am too, man. I'm hyped. We got a lot of selections. There's so many fun players in this draft. I mean, I know people are predicting a little bit of they're going to break our heart once again. We've had it done to us so many times over before. We think there's no way we can't have it happen here. But I say, let's have hope. Let's have faith. Let's see if something exciting can happen. Whitey Wise says we all have to check ourselves with quarterback evals. It's all opinion and hit and miss. Guys getting paid millions and working 80 hours a week are looking at quarterbacks screw it up all the time. It is, man. It is. It's nobody's got all the right answers, right? No team is just drafting flawlessly at every turn or grabbing quarterbacks flawlessly in every pick that they make. So there's Dave Canellis is the quarterback's coach. Thank you. I forgot about that. It was David. So it's not a refined science. It's just fun to do this stuff. It's fun as much as anything else. And then to see where see where you fit a couple years down the process, how you did, Vader Sports Car says Ritter can be good in our system because we're going to run the hell out of football and not rely on Ritter to make a bunch of plays. Yeah, you're going to ask him to just fit within the context of the offense, hit the throws when you need him to hit them that are theoretically the simpler throws that are schemed up a little bit. Bertie Schutz says, what do you think of Charles Cross? I like Charles Cross. I'm a little bit higher on him than some of the other people are out there. I get that he did a lot of pass protection and not a lot of run blocking. I get that maybe athletically he's not as explosive as Seattle's looked for in the past. Sub 300 pounds, that type of stuff. There's some question marks to his game. I still do think he's a pretty clean prospect. I think he's as technically refined as any of the top guys in this draft at the position. I think he's going to come in and start for you very quickly out the gate. May not have the high ceiling that you might normally want to have out of a tackle that you're taking in the top 10, but he's not that far off of that either. And certainly would be a pick that's very safe and is going to help your team going forward quite a bit. John says, who's the next superstar quarterback in the Allen Mahomes mold? Who's the next Lamar Jackson? Well, your Richardson might be the Lamar, right, John? I think, based on what I've heard of Richardson on that. Your next Allen Mahomes type is, to me, Levis. He's got that. He's got the elements of him to his game. Might not have the exact same, like those guys have a metric ton of arm power, arm strength. He may not have exactly that amount that they have, but he's got everything else that those guys bring. U2K says, John and Pete are always super confident, despite all evidence against it. They are the OGs of pissing on your head and telling you it's raining, or the epitome of, it's just a flesh wound. It's a flesh wound. Get on back here. No, it isn't. I killed you. No, you didn't. Get back here. Get about you, coward. Coward. Sam Z says Spiller in the third. I can't. No, Isaiah Spiller. That's another one of those prospects I can't get behind. God, he's so limited. Anthony Provenzio says Pete Carroll gets fired after the season. He might, Anthony. We don't know. I tend to think he's pretty well set. Your boy Michael, what's up, man? Good to see you. Whitey White says Carroll's weight gain was muscle, not water weight. You could see it. I had the same view of Carroll you had until I saw the body change at his pro day. My last comment on Carroll. No worries, man. I mean, I watched his pro day too. I saw some, I'm not saying it was like pudgy body, but I don't know that I saw like raw encased muscle either out there, But we'll see. It'll be fun as this goes forward to see what he does at the pro level, man. Whitey Haskins from Michigan looks like a great pick day 3. He does. He's Chris Carson. He's a Chris Carson clone. Go watch his tape. It looks just like Chris Carson. And then he says F. Russell Wilson. Jawad Michael, it's going well. Just been busy with school. How have you all been? We've been doing good, man. Chat's lively today. We're getting hyped for the draft. I can feel the excitement. Jason Tudor says the kitty's watching us. She watches overall, man. Kyle says Mayfield for 1 year. If he plays well, then we can keep him and not waste a draft pick capital and quarterback. What do you think? Just doesn't make any sense to me at this point, Kyle. With where your cap situation is at, even if you have Cleveland eat half of his salary, you're still on the hook for $9 million. You don't even have $9 million of workable cap space when you factor in how much the draft picks are going to cost. So I don't see really the upshot there, Kyle, because he balls out. You keep him. Well, how are you keeping him? You're then signing him to a contract extension. And now we're right back in the same place that we were with Russ, where the quarterback position is taking up a huge amount of the cap space. That doesn't work for me. He plays next year and he's better than Locke. Okay, well, how much better than Locke behind this offensive line where this team is? I mean, what's he, a game or two better? Just kind of like the squeeze on that, Kyle, just isn't worth the juice for me. Jeffrey Nicholson says the cat is deep in cat naps, dreaming sweet little cat dreams. She is. She's deep into it. I got her some catnip the other night. She loved it. Boy Michael, imagine we have Dixon at punter and Dicker at kicker. Dicker and Dixon is just, it's like a law agency. It sounds so, it's just too awesome. It's too awesome it's worth a 6th round pick for the name alone. John says, who's the, sorry. Jeff Russ 2 Clus says, I don't think Baker is it. I think Watson takes the Browns to the divisional round at least. Baker will go for cheap when he gets no offers until he's at $8 to $10 million for 1 year with performance bonuses. Agreed. I don't think he's going to, I think eventually the Browns are going to have to release him or not, one way or another on that. Jordan Croft, Myjai Sanders out of Cincinnati. He is on my list, Jordan. I have not gotten to him yet. So he's one of my guys that's right there on the next guys for me to look at. I'm going to be taking my evaluations right up to draft days, so I've got still about 15 to 20 guys before we get to the draft that I'd like to look in deep depth on. That put me up to about 250 total on my evaluations, but I have not had a chance to take quite a look at him yet. Daniel, if Seahawks take Penning in the top 20, can we form 100 of us together and go protest outside of Quest Field to remove these guys? It's like a movie where they get taken over by aliens, body snatchers. That's what they do in the body snatchers. That was when they identified a real human. They'd point and they'd go. I don't know if it'll be enough. Penning pick alone in the top 20 will be enough to do that, Daniel, but I certainly think you're going to have neutered a lot of the excitement from the draft if you're going with Penning. Now, look, John Robinson's a big Penning guy in here, and there's certainly a lot of people that do like him. So, I have seen a bunch of pro Penning people, and, he does have special physical traits. I will give him that. And I think even on his downside, Daniel, even if he does wash out at left tackle, if that does occur, he still has upside to me, at least as a guard, which you can't always say about all tackles that wash out, because he's got the physical traits that would still fit well to what we want from a movement-based guard at that point. You have that as a backup plan. John says, didn't Hal run a 5-second flat 40? Definitely not going to fly in the NFL, right? Yeah, it's a good point, John, and he did. Yeah, it's just it's the difference of you have to have a little bit of that extra gear in the NFL to run away from guys. It's not that you got to be 4.4. You don't have to be Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray type, but you do have to be in that Desmond Ridder to me of a 4.5 versus, to me, what Matt Corral looks like a 4.7, 5.48 guy, and to what you just said, Sam Howell's a 5 flat guy. The guys that are good in the open field, they got some wiggle, they got some shake, they got some athleticism to them, they got some short area burst to them, but they don't have the ability, you're going to be able to run away from linebackers and defensive ends at the next level with that type of speed. Pater Sports Card says, here's the thing. When you look at what Carroll wants to offensively, Penning can be very good in the system. Right or wrong, Penning is probably the best run blocker outside of Ekawanu in this draft. It's a good point. And yeah, it is something that Carroll has gravitated towards in the past of what he likes in having not just the nastiness in a lineman that can go out there and bully up on a guy, but also the ability to run block first and foremost as his skill set. And that is sort of Trevor's claim to fame, I think, to your point with Ekawanu in this draft. He can do that. He's not to me, Trevor's not a bust to me on that. He doesn't have as much of the bust element. He doesn't necessarily knock my socks off, but he's not there's not necessarily it's not necessarily Bustville with him. Just a little bit of an overdraft to me if you're talking top 20. John says, how much of Cross is a projection because of the style of play of A&M, and why is he such a bad tester? He looks big, strong, and fast as a player. Hard to say on testing. I mean, there is a little bit of that part you could put in, and I don't know if it's the case here, John, but it's some guys are football players, they're not testers. They're not track guys. They're there to play football. And indeed, he could be that type of guy that you could put into that same category, because with Cross, you're looking at a guy who's technically very refined to me. Understands where his feet need to be. His kick step is very smooth. He mirrors very well. His hand placement is always in the right spot. He gets anchored down very well. And obviously pass protection is going to be his forte. I think he did it 63% of his time in college. But doesn't mean to me that he can't necessarily do the run blocking stuff. Just wasn't asked to do it as much. And I don't have much an issue with that, John, of course, too, because I think that's the majority of linemen coming out or more often than not have a lot of that to their game, where they've been playing in a spread system. But it's the equivalent, John, to me, when you look at Cross and talking about the testing scores of a guy having track speed versus football speed. And when you see football speed, you know it when you see it. And he's got that equivalent of football speed in how he plays the tackle position, to my eyes. Mason Dale, when teams are drafting, how much do you think they look into future draft classes, and does that impact their decision in the current draft? For instance, if next year's draft class is rich at nose tackle, would we wait? I don't know how often teams really are aligned into that thinking, Mason, because football is a sport that hires and fires coaches and general managers at a very quick rate. And to have the foresight and to feel comfortable to believe that you can be looking a year or two out down the line and forecasting in that way might be a little tough to do if we're talking about getting too specific, like you're talking about, nose tackle or cornerback or safety. I think you can do it from certain aspects, like last year, for instance, you had less players entering the NFL draft because of the COVID situation. So that caused there to be less potential availables to be drafted, which meant this year's draft was going to be increased, which meant next year's draft was going to be a little more increased, and so on and so forth. That would inform you then to maybe tactically change your way towards last year's draft, and that you weren't going to maybe try to pick as much, i.e. we only have 3 selections in last year's draft, versus trying to get more selections into the future draft. So it could inform it in that way, but I don't know that it informs it exactly in the way of positional grouping, though it could be, to your point on this, Mason, it could be when we look at the quarterback position. Because like I said, those top 3 guys in next year's draft, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis is your de facto top 3 quarterbacks. All 3 of those guys, I think, probably would have gone ahead of all of the quarterbacks in this draft. So Seattle could be in this, at least for that positional grouping, being looking at it in that way. And this year was such an odd year for the quarterback position as far as it being a little bit bereft of talent. Jordan Kraft at Daxton Hill. He's a good player. Safety, though. I don't think he'd be a guy that they're going to take a look at. HB, I think Dwayne Eskridge getting concussed on literally his first touch in an NFL game really messed with his confidence. Talk about welcome to the NFL. Pray for D. I will pray for him, man. I will pray for him. Randall coming in with a $2 donation. Thank you, Randall. Says, think we need to get running back round 3 or 4. Number 4 position of need. Certainly there's a lot of it, Randall, I guess, is dependent upon what is their medical on Chris Carson. Where does he stand? Is he going to come back? Is he ready to roll? Is it, is he still struggling with it there? And I don't know on that. That's kind of the question of what they really feel with Chris. Because if you're bringing him in, you're bringing in that running back that early, you're planning on them making the roster and knocking one of these guys out. You're planning on them definitely absolutely being better than Dallas or Homer, which I think these guys would be. If you're taking like we mentioned, the Pierce or any of those assembly of guys I talked about, I do think that they're better than what we've got in those 2 guys on the roster right now. But it's a need. I wouldn't put it over a need, though, Randall, if you have a better player available on your board at a different position like edge rusher, nose tackle, offensive line. I would put it as a need, but not versus even if we're talking about in the first 3 rounds, Randall, linebacker. I would lean towards getting a linebacker over that because I do think that there's better value there. And I think there'll be a guy even in the 5th or 6th round you could get who could still come in and push DJ Dallas and Travis Homer. Brady Short says, would you take Hall or Kenneth in the 2nd, considering how injury prone our running backs are? I'm not as high on Kenneth Walker as some people are, Birdie. I do like Breece Hall. He's my number 1 running back in this class. I would be willing to take him in the 2nd round. I do think there are better players available that I would gravitate towards first over him. But if the team ended up deciding that they wanted to take Hall that was their guy, I wouldn't poo-poo the pick. John says, I saw a few videos of Marquise Blair cutting and changing direction recently. He looks like he's recovered almost fully. Love to see him starting at big nickel. We had a competition there this year, John. He gets to come in for a competition. We got Artie Burns in for a competition. We got Justin Coleman there. You got Ugo Amadi. Let the best man win. I think that them doubling back down to competition as king could be one of the feathers in the cap of pushing this rebuild forward in the proper way. A lot like what it was back in the day 10 years ago. You're not just trying to get a guy and allot him into the spot and he's your guy and that's it and you don't have really a backup plan. Now you have a bunch of different plans and let the best man win. I think that competition in that case truly will breed about the best possible guy who ends up on the football field. John says, I don't like Pierce. I don't think he's dynamic enough, but neither was Gore. And look what he did. He reminds me of Gore too. Yeah, I see some Gore to his game. That's a great comparison. That's an awesome comp, John. Pierce doesn't wow me as he does other people as much, but I can't deny the fact that he does fit into the mold of what the Seahawks have tended to look for in the running back position. And if we are looking at the replacement for a Carson, I think he does fit into that standpoint of things. Tony Wright says Pierre Strong is 5'11", 205 pounds, my sleeper running back that I have in 5th or 6th round grade on. Where do I have Pierre? I love Pierre. I think I like Pierre more than you. I think I'm even higher on Pierre than you are. Yeah, I got Pierre on my big board at 4. I loved his tape. So, Tony, I put him in the 4th round. Fun kid to watch. Pacheco's my next running back. John, that's my next one to look at. Jordan Kraft says Carson Strong took an arrow to the knee, sadly. Megan, I don't get the hype over Carson Strong, but we'd happy if we take him late. Yeah, I mean, I like him, Megan, but even when I like him, I'm talking 3rd round with him, right? So it's always with these quarterbacks, we always got to put it in the perspective of we like him, but it's to a tempered degree. It's like I like him, but I'm not loving him. It's okay. I like him if that knee continues to come along and he gets stronger in that realm with that arm strength that he has. To get that in the 3rd round is the part that would get me a little bit excited. You don't tend to get a guy with that alive and arm at that spot in the draft. You're usually going to get a guy that's kind of the overachiever, try-hard type. Jaboy Michael says if we come out of the first with Sauce or Stingley and then trade up for Ritter, that's a W for me. That would be a good draft. That'd be a good draft. Jordan Kraft says Matt Corral's a top 10 prospect. I like messing with Brandon. I know. Y'all know I get my one guy stuck in my craw and I can't get it out of the craw. And y'all know it. Jaboy Michael, I would love to get Hassan Haskins, big Michigan guy here. I love Haskins. Oh, he's a fun tape to watch. And it was startling to me how closely aligned he looked to Chris Carson. I mean, he looks so similar in his running style. Phantom Gamer says, Brando, hope you put out your anti-Corral vibes into the universe today. It's been floating out there. I'm getting a lot of pushback today, Phantom. I'm getting some big time pushback, but I'm fighting the fight. John says, what's the Marshawn Lynch, Leon Washington-like trade we make in later rounds? You'd have to find a running back with like slightly depressed value out there. Who would be that guy? Well, and would you want to do that, John, in a draft like this where you have the running back talent in the draft? You know, you have the guys in this draft that fit the mold for what you would normally want. I don't know. It's a good question. Nobody's jumping off the top of my head. There's not really that running back that's out there in those same place those guys were. I'll think about it, John. I'll see if there's somebody that comes to mind, but nobody's, you're not making a move for like Ezekiel Elliott or a McCaffrey type. Elliott's stuck on the Cowboys with their dead money hit on him, so. Flag Sabbath says JS has said some sketchy S this offseason. Yes, he has. Yes, he has. Michael Ponikowski says, should we gamble and take Stingley at 9? We have taken guys with injury concerns before, like Darrell Taylor. People are saying Stingley has more potential than Gardner. He just might. He just might. You bring up and you raise a very good point. We've had how many first picks that have come through here in recent years that couldn't even get on the football field in their first season. And some of that is built in not just on the bad luck of the player sustaining an injury when they walked in here, but on the back of you knew there was some injury problems. You knew there was a rod in Darrell Taylor's leg that was getting taken out and could affect his first season of play. You knew Eskridge changed his jersey number in college to try to flip the bad mojo of the injury problems that he was running into. So you could have avoided this to a certain degree in recent history. And now you have Stingley, a guy with the Liz Frank injury. That's certainly one of those scary injuries that can be one that you never really fully get over, that is always kind of lingering around there. Even though that's the case, I still pull the trigger on this one, Michael, for the reasons you mentioned at the end of your post, and that is the potential here. I want the best player available. I want the guy with all of the ability in the world to tap into. I don't know if he'll tap into it. I don't know if I can coach him to get to there, but I want to see that potential evident, and he has that. If he came out in his freshman year after intercepting the ball 6 times, after locking a whole side of the field down, after instilling a fear in the hearts of college quarterbacks we haven't seen since back in the days of Dion. If he'd come out in that draft, he would have been probably the number 1 overall selection in that draft. Now you have 2 years of tape to go off of where it doesn't look as good necessarily. It's got the Liz Frank thing, but that talent's still there. That potential's still there. And you could be getting a true lockdown, shutdown type corner, a guy that can play both zone and man, which you're probably going to be doing both parts of here now going forward. That to me opens that door up and says, yeah, I'm willing to make that pick at that point. I'll pull that trigger, even with the rough past history, the recent past history that we've had. John says, who's the Russell Wilson of quarterbacks this year? A late round underdog with the chance to be amazing. What about a Keel Glass? I'll give you that's my quarterback for you. That or Bailey Zapp. Those two guys could be interesting. Late round guy who could be amazing. I'm looking at my big board right now. I'm big board checking. Rashid Walker out of Penn State's got a lot of amazing to his game, John, and he's probably going 4th round and on. He didn't test at all in not at the combine and not in pro day. So, and with his tape that he has out, that's a little bit rough to watch at times with some of his shenanigans on the football field. But the talent's there, the size is there, the ability's there. He could be the guy that eventually gets selected and decides to put his head on right and straight and just do what he needs to get done on the football field. So he'd be my late round guy for you. Jack Shaw says, are you streaming all 3 days of the draft? Jack, I'm not only streaming all 3 days of the draft, I'm streaming the day before the draft too. So 4 straight days, all day, every day. I'll be right here, my man. John Richardson's supposed to be a high round quarterback. I'll be taking a look at him for sure. I'm intrigued. The more the merrier we can get as far as quarterbacks that are first round grades next year. Chef Ross Duclaus says, but Tyler has the art of war approach when he plays. He's got a huge leadership potential for how real he is with his teammates. He could be a guy. He certainly's got the gray beard going, you know. He's been there the longest. So certainly makes it sense. Berg Show says, I feel the NFL offseason is way too long. Your thoughts? I mean, it's long. I think that's kind of the case in all sports, Berg. I think probably what's happened too is that it's been definitely built up a lot with different things going on from free agency to draft. I'm part of that. We certainly make a big spectacle of it in that respect. But yeah, it's tough waiting for football this long. It sucks. It sucks having to wait for as long as we do. John says, what's the best scenario and worst case scenario for our Hawks in the first round? Best case scenario, John, is that you can get 2 of those first round picks in the middle of the teens, be it from the Saints or from the Eagles, and get 2 upper level starters in those first 2 picks without having to sacrifice a lot of your future capital, even in a next year's draft or in this year's draft, if you can find a way to do it. That'd be an ideal. Worst case scenario in this draft would be taking a quarterback at number 9 or using that first round really for a quarterback, I think. That's kind of a worst case scenario to me. If you've traded back and you're in the late 20s, and you've accumulated other draft capital on the other side of that, then maybe that's a little bit better. But I think that that's really the worst case scenario. You know, like we've talked about Penning here, John, and like I've said to you, like even with Penning on the bottom end of it, I've got an upper level starter at left guard if he can't make it a tackle, which there's a good chance he can make it a tackle. So that's nowhere near a worst case scenario. It's not a pick I don't love, but it's not a worst case scenario pick. But that taking a quarterback with that pick would be such a huge overreach. Jason Tudor says, so envious I can't have cats in my apartment. It definitely affects the apartment finding to have to locate one that'll accommodate them because there's a lot that don't. But yeah, I can't live without my cats. Need my cats, my kitties. Zachary Halter, thank you for subscribing, man. Appreciate you. Very kind. Flag Sabbath says Pascal is one of my favorite draft crushes this year. He should be. He should be. No edge defender in this draft is as dominant as a run defender, and that's not going to get a lot of people hyped all the time. But you just got to watch how he does it like a badass. I mean, he just breaks men in two to get into the backfield. A tackle for loss machine. So he's a conveyor belt of tackle for losses. Just cha-chunk, cha-dee, cha-chunk, cha-dee, cha-chunk, cha-dee. That's Josh Pascal. Josh Pascal. He's got that grown man strength at like 20, 21 years old, 22 years old. I don't know what he's going to do as far as a pass rusher goes. I don't. I feel like he should have that in his game a little more than he does for how dominant he is as a run defender. But boy, is he dominant as a run defender. Boy, is he dominant. Why do I? Says, I like to point out my differences with Brando and Eskridge and Corral because it's about the only things I really disagree with me. I disagree. I'm like that laughing out loud. John says, who are the tone setters in this draft that could do what Lynch and Chancellor did for our team? So I just mentioned one, obviously, absolutely. Pascal would be that type of dude. Travis Jones, defensive tackle for a contended kid, it would be that type of dude. And I'm not looking on top end here, obviously, because that's kind of too easy, right, John? So your question's really about deeper edge of this stuff. See, there's other guys on this. Probably, I mean, I do like Sam Williams, but probably wouldn't be him in that list of things. I do think Breece Hall will be a tone setter at the running back position. So I don't know if running back can be that, but that would be it. Obviously, Penning would be of that mentality, I guess, with it. I don't know. There's kind of a lot. I can almost name off like 10 guys. I mean, everything from, Zion Johnson to Daniel Fa'alele, Alex Pierce at the receiver positions. I think going to be that kind of guy. I'd actually, John, have a couple of guys on that list. I'd have quite a few, I think. Why do I say Seattle trades down? Wide at 15 would be cool. I think he has a chance to be Cox, Jones, Atkins type. Best 3 tech in the draft. He is the best 3 tech in the draft. No doubt about it. A little bit old for my taste at 24. That worries me a little bit with him. But he is by far and away the best 3 tech in the draft. It's not number 2 behind him is Perry and Winfrey. And he's a pretty far fall drop off. There's some domestic stuff with Wyatt I hadn't heard. Yikes. That's not good. John says, Quay Walker looks so freaking smooth in linebacker drills and takes on blocks so well. Sheds well and anchors well. Might be great in our 3-4. He certainly wouldn't be not a fit. I mean, he'd be a fit to a need, right, John? Like you do have that opening. I saw him a little bit different. Not different, but I just thought he was bad in zone coverage. I did think he's a little bit better in man. He's really sturdy. He could play the Will, the Sam. He could play inside linebacker in a 3-4. Good blitzer. All those Georgia backers were great blitzers, though. I wouldn't full on call him explosive, but he's not far off. Good instincts. But I was just worried with him, John, in his struggles in zone. He tested pretty good. He tested okay, kind of average. 4.52, 32-inch vert, 10.2 broad. Kind of average on that stuff. He's not bad, though. Jeff Russ, like, bro, I got to call in and give some hot takes, laughing a lot. Jack, round 2 to 3 is the sweet spot for linebackers. It is, Jack. It really is. I mean, Leo Chanel, Troy Anderson, Christian Harris, Damian Clerk, Brandon Smith, Brian Asamoah, Quay Walker, Channing Tindall, Nolan Smith, Nick Bonito. Nakobe Dean might slide in that second round area of things. Yeah, and then that drop off from those guys I just mentioned is quite far. So, all right. So I am going to wrap up here pretty soon, folks. I'm sorry, I've got to cut out a little bit early today on the stream because I got to get prepped for some stuff tonight, working and get everything ready. I got to get my work done this week so I can get prepped for the draft, so I can do all draft coverage throughout the week. So got to get a little bit of a head start on that. So we're going to get the last of the couple comments here on the board with you guys. Sorry, we got to wrap it up just a tiny bit early today, but just need to get some things done really quick. Got to get some stuff done. Randall says France is the best. M's the best right hitter since Edgar. He's having his hottest start as I've seen in quite a long period of time. Jack Sean says, I'm not a huge Ritter fan. The Bama tape is bad. Definitely not his best game, Jack. That's for sure. And as I like to say with all these quarterbacks, you're not getting the far and away first round guy you normally would be looking to get here. It's you're making your peace a little bit with having to take a lesser of a dude. But there's questions with all of them. There's questions with all of them for sure. Amin is Jerry. Hey, Brandon. Second time commenting. Just wanted to say that my uncle's friend works in the New York Giants front office. My cousin told me Seattle likes Stingley at 9. Giants big board is number 1 Walker, number 2 Cross, number 2 Neal, number 3 Cross. Ooh, interesting. They have Cross at 3 on their big board. Wow. He was right about Daniel Jones, Evan Ingram, Andrew Thomas, and said that the Giants were looking to trade down last year. Well, ominous Jerry, thank you for the insider info. I think Stingley, when it's all said and done, will be my guy in my final mock on Wednesday that I run. He will be probably the guy for us at number 9 when it's all said and done. So it makes sense why they like him as much as they do. I mean, it's kind of like what's not to like on Stingley. I mean, you can pick apart the last couple of years, but there's so much more there to really enjoy on what he brings and gives you. So I'd be good with that, Ominous. I'll be applauding if it's Stingley as the pick at number 9. I will be perfectly content, perfectly happy if that's the case. Consumer 114, I'm sorry, but all the 12s will be upset with the draft. We have a 70-year-old coach who thinks we are still in compete mode and will pick for need, not the best player left on the board. Well, Consumer, you can count on me being here on this channel where if it is a pick to a need and not the best player available on the board, I'm not going to dress it up. I'm not going to color it a certain way. I'm going to call it like it is on that. And I hope they don't. It's a possibility they could do that. I do think some of their talking of being competitive and doing that sort of thing this year has been more built around them being, they don't want to tell the fan base we're in rebuild mode after you just got rid of Bobby Wagner and Russell Wilson. They're doing it. They're doing a rebuild in the background. They're just not saying they're doing it. But I think that is what is kind of occurring at this point. Goax Survives is my recent mock draft. Cross, Jones, Benito, Carson Strong, Channing Tindall, D'Angelo Malone, and Pierre Strong, Brian Robinson, and Cameron Dicker. Championship level draft. That is a good draft. That's a very, very good draft. Jordan Kraft, like anything about Drake Jackson? I've not seen a prospect with a ghost move like him as good as he has in quite a while. He ghosts these tackles where he starts off the line and he sets them up by getting their hands up high and then he'll just dip right at the last second as the lineman's getting his hands on him and he's below them. Really good bend for a guy his size at that point. He's got a lot of intriguing elements to him where I think he can add more onto his build, more weight to him, which could end up making him even more impactful in that element. Like he's just starting to kind of scratch the surface on really his true potential. But that ghost move is sick. Charles Riley coming in the chat. Hey, Charles. Sorry I caught you a little bit later today. I was going a little bit early on the stream, but thanks for the $5 donation. Says, Brando, looking forward to your draft coverage. Have you updated your big board? I have been updating my big board, but I'll be, Charles, releasing it to the members. I'll put it on just a community post, actually, but I'm just getting the last of it refined out. I want to try to get up to about 250 players if I can, up on that board and looked at and viewed. But I'm just getting it further. I'm just getting the last of it refined out. But yeah, I've been definitely adding names. It's filling out well. It's looking good. It's looking good. It's looking clean. It's looking real clean, Randall. Thank you for the $5 dono. Why do I says why was living at his girlfriend's apartment? He got mad and kicked a hole in the wall. That was it. Oh, well, yeah. Young love. Vader Sports Car, Brendan, do you feel like Arnold Ebiketie is perfect scheme fit for what Seahawks want to run in 2022? Yeah, he could be an outside 3-4 linebacker for you. So you just have him stand up and come off the edge, come off the blindside edge. That's what he did in college. He did a little more putting his hand in the dirt in college, but I think he could do the stand-up stuff. He's got the build for it. Noah says, talking about drafting running backs, do you think Penny is legit or just a flash in the pan and become the lead back? And do you think Carson will be full go or not playing at all like Brendan Nelson thinks? I don't know what to make of Carson. I would have thought that they would have already released him if there was even a question of whether or not he could come back at this point. Like, why sit on the hook for $3.5 million that you don't have to be on the hook for if you think there's a 30% chance he's not coming back off the neck injury? So I would tend to think that they think his health is good enough to continue and go forward with Chris Carson. I don't think the penny is a flash in the pan. Is he going to put up 6.8 yards per carry or whatever he put up at the end of the last season? No, he's not going that crazy. But could he be an upper level running back as far as production, yards per carry average goes, and the amount of big plays he busts off in the course of a season, 20 plus yard runs? Yes, that is all legitimate. It's built upon them getting the line right, Noah. It's built upon them utilizing him on the outside in the outside zone runs, pitch plays, getting him to the edge, letting him use his legs, his greatest asset. But Penny, there was a reason he was a number one pick. There was a reason for it. And even if Seattle hadn't taken him in the first round, he would have been taken in the top half of the second round because he has that type of talent. So, yeah, there's definitely, Penny can get to it again. Question with Penny again is going to be like with Carson, Noah. Can he stay healthy? Can he stay healthy? That's the question. Bree says, why do that say you're in a rebuild mode? Why do that? Just say you're in a rebuild mode. It's clear. Because they're playing the PR game, Breeze. You know, you tell the fan base we're getting rid of Russell Wilson and Bobby Wagner, and now we're going to go into rebuild mode. And they say, why did you do that? Why didn't you just keep the players? Why didn't you just try to compete? But if you say, no, we're competing, we're just trying to rebuild it. We're just trying to re-put this together in a different way that's more built to our designs, our base designs, well, then they sell them on that. But that's just kind of the way it goes. It sucks. I know it's frustrating, but it is the way it is. Jeffrey says Seattle doesn't even want to draft this year. It's PC and John Snyder do anything but draft best on the board. I'm calling to sabotage. Me too, man. Me as well. Me as well. All right. Well, we are about to end the chat. Let's get the last couple comments in. I'm going to wrap this up. I will be back on a Wednesday, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We're going to be doing final mock draft on that. Last of the rumors we're hearing before the draft on that on Thursday. I'll be on Jose Rodriguez's channel tomorrow at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We're going to be discussing some stuff over on his side of things. So one of the mods we have in the channel here, Seahawks Jose Rodriguez, go over the head over there on 6 o'clock over there. Sub up if you're not already to his channel on that side of things. We're going to be hitting it hard folks. I'm going hard this week. We're going to be doing as many streams as we've done in this channel's history. So let's see if we can get up over the top. The goal here is let's get over 7,000 subscribers this week. Let's get over 100 subs if we can pull it. I think we can. I'm confident we can. So if you're not subbed to the channel, get subbed to the channel. Help us get up over this mark as well. If you do like this video, liked what you're hearing today, please do hit the like button because it does help me out. It helps this channel grow tremendously. I really do appreciate it. Charles with a $5 donation to finish us off right here says, if you need a break from the big board breakdown, there should be a new episode of Winning Time on HBO tonight. Awesome show. I'm stoked for it, Charles. I will be sitting down watching it later tonight. You know it. I've been liking it overall. Last week was a little bit of a snoozer for me on that one, kind of a filler episode, but I like the Larry Bird stuff. That was pretty cool. So I'm good with it. I like the show a lot though. So I'm going to definitely be checking it out. John says, an hour and a half, you done, dang? I'm 3.5 hours in on this, John. I know it's not my normal 5 hours, but I got to save the voice for this week because we're going to be doing about 30 hours of streaming this week. So I gotta keep the voice fresh. Plus I got to get some work done so I can prep up this evening. Carlos Gutierrez, 9 Sauce, 41 Mafe, 41 Fa'alele. Ooh, I like your first 3. Corsos, 72 Logan Hall, 78 Isaiah Thomas, Terrell Bernard, Lindstrom at 153, Cade York at 229. Got a kicker, got a lot of pass rush there. Got some offensive line, two guys. I love it, Corsos. What's not to like on that, man? What's not to like? Hey, Soul Deep Recordings, I made the call. You heard the call. Thank you for doing so, man. I appreciate you subscribing. We're going to get over this. I want to push over this 7,000 mark. We're grinding here, so I appreciate you doing that. Bree says Ebiketti's a stud. He is a stud. There's nothing. It's hard. It's impossible not to like Arnold Ebiketie. I don't know if you get excited or blown away by him, but it's impossible not to at least be excited by him as a prospect. Charles says the Nike stuff with Magic was heartbreaking. Yeah, that was a brutal turn on that one. That was a brutal turn down on him on that one, wasn't it? It certainly was. Well, thank you again for all the donations in the chat today, guys. Appreciate it. Really lively discussion. I'd love to see, again, as always, the passion in my chat and the folks that you got your opinions on stuff. You've been looking as deeply as I've been looking into this. You've gotten kind of set. You want to see this play out a certain way. Hopefully, we'll get to the good side of it. And you know what, folks? I do feel some pessimism out there, and it's rightfully so. I feel some chagrined nature out there, and it's rightfully so. You've been burnt. You've been burnt multiple times over. You've had to walk through one of the toughest off seasons that we've had to walk through in Seattle Seahawk history. It hasn't been easy. It hasn't been a simple ride. It hasn't been all downhill. But I'm going to ask you right now, I'm going to ask you to keep the faith. I'm going to tell you brighter days ahead. I'm going to tell you that even folks like Schneider and Carroll that may have gotten certain things wrong recently are going to find their way again here. They've got a lot to work with, more than they've ever had to work with before. We're picking in the top 10, folks. We got 2 second-round picks, folks. We got 2 first-rounders next year, 2 second-rounders next year after that. We're sitting on a boatload. So let's be positive for the moment. Let's wait for them to make the mistake before we say they're going to make the mistake. Let's see it happen first before we call it to happen, because you never know. We might just be surprised. They might just turn this thing around. God forbid. So as I always tell you guys, and as I tell you now, keep that faith. Don't lose that faith. Hold the line. Hold the line. Forget about for one day. Forget about for 1 week what's happened the last couple of years, and let's just concentrate on today. Let's concentrate on those magnificent picks that are coming our way as we turn this team around and get back to the top. Ride with me, folks. Right here by my side, let's enjoy this together. Let's enjoy watching this new team built together, but mostly let's enjoy this draft. Come in here, 3 straight days, let's roll. Let's make this exciting. Let's make this fun. Let's talk about all the potential and possibilities of success our future Seahawks are going to achieve after this draft. Let's do it. For one simple week, let's just be completely, beautifully optimistic. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching, but mostly, don't you ever forget. Even you pessimisms out there, even you skeptical folks out there, I see you. I see your glass half full, and I'm going to pour some water inside it. I'm going to overflow that cup. You better believe it, because we are getting back. one way or another, by hook or crook. We are getting back, and you keep that faith, and don't you ever forget. Never. Go Hawks.